concussion. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, not so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, right girls, let her tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
Jessica, you've been able your entire time in Miami to avoid baggage claim at Miami International Airport. You pack so light that you've been able to always avoid that? Because I can't avoid that. I would love to be able to avoid. What Lucy is seeing at MIA, I think, is where she sees all the balloons and stuff. I think that's a lot of international stuff, and I think that's people coming in from Cuba, and people are like reuniting with family is what Lucy's seeing there. That's a happy part of the airport. The saddest part of one of the saddest airports in America is that baggage claim, and I can't believe Jessica's been able to avoid it.
I don't pack light. I pack very heavy, but I compact it all into one luggage thing that is a carry-on size. I don't actually have packing cubes. I don't need packing cubes. I shove that in. I sit on my suitcase, I zip it up, and then I use like the jaws of life to put it in the overhead compartment by myself. And then I pack a second bag to the brim that I can barely lift up and put that under the
just to avoid to purposely avoid that particular sad baggage
I don't
claim.
mess with baggage claim. I don't mess with checked bags. If it doesn't fit in my carry-ons, I'm not bringing it. I don't need it. I will never check a bag.
But you're saying you do this at any airport. This is not specific to Miami Airport.
Yeah,
okay.
I would do it at nice LaGuardia. It doesn't matter if it's LaGuardia baggage claim. So nice.
They've really improved LaGuardia. I don't know
it's great.
I don't know how much money they've poured into LaGuardia.
Billions of dollars.
It was such a dump, and now they've made it lovely. And I wonder why no one in Miami is doing anything comparable.
Why is Miami International Airport so bad? Like, I think it's fine. It's just an airport, right? Like, I'm not trying.
Bad.
It's fine. It's a good enough airport. I'm not trying to live there. Like, I'm just kind of getting in there, getting on a bird.
Right. You're trying to get in and out.
In and out. Get on the bird, get off the bird. Exactly right. I'm not looking
One of the problems is baggage claim makes it so you can't get in and out. And it suggests to me that you guys aren't seeing a whole lot of airports if you're seeing this one.
Miami's not the worst. I've been to a lot worse airports
goo
than
coming
Miami.
out of the
It's pretty
ceiling.
bad.
There's
Antifreeze.
goo coming out of the ceiling
Yeah,
into a
that's
little
fine.
tube into a garbage
And a
can.
raccoon, I think.
That was at LaGuardia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Is
no,
there
was that at JFK? I don't. JFK is gross.
Is there any better feeling in the world than when you sit on a stuffed luggage and then you close that extra compartment that opens up and you're like, yeah, I made this the small one. This
Hell
fits
yeah.
now.
Love that.
Huh.
Good feeling.
Dan, you know the feeling?
There are better feelings than that.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
There are
Name
yes,
one.
In all of your Billy, go sit out for go sit outside.
Really?
For a little
he just
while.
got back.
Yes,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
He was right, though. It's a
get-
great feeling. I did it last weekend.
Yeah,
Did
but
it this
I
morning.
needed him to keep the show for a second. I was looking down at papers, and he did it on purpose.
No, he
like I
did
needed
not.
him to hold on to the show for a second.
He's tired. I mean, you sent him out to the penalty box, no specific time. When should he come back? I mean,
I don't know.
Okay.
I think we're all in shock here because LaGuardia has been rated the greatest airport in America all of a sudden. And my entire life, I have experienced that place as a hellhole. And I will not believe it until I go see it myself.
No, it's so. Lizzie, I'm telling you, I got a $7 cold brew at a LaGuardia Bubby's last week. They have made it like the fancy person's airport. It's ridiculous.
They fixed it. What LaGuardia used to be, which was puzzling to me because I'm like, New York, you're a giant city with all the money. How can you have such a terrible airport? And then it seemed like from 6 months to the next, I know they did some construction, but it's not just that they did it. They did it in an enormously fast fashion and took their airport from 1980. Well,
It was not fast. The bathrooms, though, are so nice. Love taking a piss in those bathrooms. It is just the nicest bathroom you'll ever see in New York City.
It doesn't have one of those hand dryers where it's next to the sink so the water just blows back in your face, because that's like new technology, but I also didn't think they thought that through because that water just comes right back at you.
Don't get me started on hair dryers or hand dryers.
I want to get you started.
No, it used to be just the one that blew out from a round thing.
Yes.
And now it's these ones where you got to put your hands like this.
Right, inside,
Yeah,
yes.
it's uncleanly.
Everyone else has stuck their hands in there.
Everyone's touching it and going like this, and it's counterproductive.
But
Did you
airports
learn
are
anything?
Airports are all about food, are they not? Like
Yeah.
that's all you really care about.
Food, booze,
Right.
Flight.
I'll go to Miami just to hit that Nathan's. I will. Miami International. It's
All
the
right,
nicest Nathan's.
I don't want to do this again. Stugotz, please, reruns on the Nathan's Airport at Miami. Like, I don't want to do this again with you.
Crinkle
I didn't
fries.
band airports. You did.
I
mean,
don't. The only information you have on airports is that you like the Nathans.
That
Like
is
this-
how I judge an airport, the food situation.
Thank you.
I like to take a good lap, go right. Even if my gate's to the left, I'm walking right. I got to see what they got to offer.
Right. Yeah.
And then you walk over there, and it's just like a zona fresca. It's like, God damn it.
Right.
I wanted something
Very
better than this.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miami's disappointing that way too. I don't know how many airports you're traveling to that you think the Miami International Airport is not an international embarrassment.
I feel like the SkyTrain is also always broken and always under construction. And there have been times where I have almost missed my flight, even though I got there very early, because you have to walk a mile to your gate. It's crazy.
I'm curious among us who are the big travelers here, because Stugotz's airport information isn't very good if he thinks that the Miami International Airport is an airport in America that doesn't pale to any other good airports. It is an abomination.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a great airport. I've been to O'Hare. That's a disaster for me because when you land, it takes, probably 20
just
minutes
big,
to get to the
right?
gate. Yeah, it's just too big. You're taking trains. You're doing a lot of work in that airport. Miami Airport, I'm not saying it's the greatest airport in the world. I'm just saying it serves its purpose. It's not the worst. I've seen worse airports.
It's a misuse of space. It's huge.
No,
You've got a
stop.
whole area where it's like high-end shopping. Who does all that on their way to, I don't know, Milwaukee? It's
Travelers.
International travelers.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it might not be useful to you, but it's useful to someone. There's a reason those stores are there.
It makes the concourse so long, and you have to just walk for miles. If you have to take a train,
Right.
I hate your airport.
I
Dallas
agree.
Airport, get out of here
That's
with that. You
fair.
have to go in
Yes.
circles.
Yes.
That's the way I judge airports. If I have a tight connection, if I have like a 45-minute connection, I don't want to feel stressed like I got to take 2 trains and a trolley and a tram to get into a different terminal.
You want to get off your plane, and your next plane's right at the next gate.
Exactly.
Yes.
But I will fly in and out of Fort Lauderdale to avoid Miami, even if the flight
Yes.
isn't quite as convenient.
Fort Lauderdale
even
is
if
not
it's more.
great.
I
Oh, it's
like
so
it a
much
lot
better than Miami.
Really?
I can also tell you that Miami has no direct flights to Milwaukee. They have no direct flights anywhere.
Who wants to go there, though? Respectfully.
I want to ask the group here off of last night's game, and I'm serious about this. How am I to talk today about the 3-6 Miami Dolphins? And the reason that I ask you this question, okay, because I'm doing a lot of reading these days during these dark times. And Mark Twain has the quote, and it hit me in the heart, this quote: "It's better to be an optimist who is sometimes wrong than a pessimist who is always right." I have been the pessimist who is always right about the Dolphins for 25 years, and it's a suffering. I don't want to live my life like this. I also don't want to live a life that has to pay attention to last night's game. Has to pay attention because a 2-6 team is winning to make themselves 3-6, and it's, to me, and they've got an easy schedule the rest of the way.
Yes.
So it's going to be another one of these dumbass dances of try to get there, and if you get there, like physically crawling on your hands and knees, and then lose in the first round because you spent the season losing. And it's just another recyclable, but that's not the mood today when you go on the West Coast and win a football game.
That was a big win for the Dolphins. I know you don't want to hear that today, but it puts them back into the playoff mix. It really does, Dan. I mean, you don't think this team with Tua, they're a different team with Tua. We can all agree. We can get to why is Tua trying to tackle someone when he throws an interception a little bit later, but you could agree this is a different team with Tua, and when their wide receivers are healthy, the defense is coming around. Like, I could see this team making it to the playoffs and possibly winning a game or two.
See, I hate this.
Really?
This is, yeah, because if
But, Dan, that's what football
All right,
is.
but
It's
Stugotz,
hope.
So I do this with the Saints today.
Well-
If you're driving through New Orleans right now and they're talking about that victory the same way,
Right.
you're like, that's ridiculous. You're like listening. Anybody who turned 3-6 or 3-7 yesterday with a win, you're not listening to that show and being like, you know what? I do think that team can make a playoff run. If you've got 6 or 7 losses by this point in the season, 6 or 7 losses, I'm not counting on you to make a deep playoff run.
I understand that, but the conferences are different. So the Green Bay Packers are the 7th seed right now. They're 6-3. I don't think the Saints think they're going to catch them. But in the AFC, that final playoff spot is 5-5, and they're 3-6.
But the final playoff spot. This is what I'm telling you about this damn sport. That's so funny. All right, you leak in as a 6 seed, and what? You're gonna go lose. Like it's just because the playoffs are big.
Here you go. You play. Who are you going to play in the first round? The Bills. Well, you don't want to play the Bills. That's not going to be a good situation.
That's a defeatist attitude.
Hopefully the Chiefs fall. Yeah, look at this. How do you talk about this team? Second place Miami Dolphins, huh? Clicking on all cylinders now.
Yeah.
They haven't been healthy all season. They missed their quarterback for 4 games. Their top wide receiver had a mysterious knee surgery that no one knew about, that we only found out about because of his detainment, not arrest, and in said detainment, not arrest, he injured his wrist, which he wasn't able to play or able to practice on Friday, but he played through it. He's been hurt. Jalen Waddle, who they paid a ton of money to, can't catch the ball worth a darn. Like, that's what's going on right now. Yeah. They had a guy that broke his orbital socket, and he's back to playing because he has a visor on now. And sure enough, you can break your orbital socket, but a week later, just put a piece of plastic in front of it, and you're good to go. Like, that's the team.
The defense was the revelation last night. If that defense can play the way it did against a healthy Rams offense, Aikman was saying last night, this is the best passing offense the Dolphins have faced all season, and they looked good. Like he said, Sealer being back, Javon Holland being back. I'm with you, Dan. This is not a Super Bowl team right now, but I don't agree with you that I'm fine being the 7th seed, fighting for a playoff spot. Even if you lose that game, it's better than just missing the playoffs.
Yeah. They sacked Matthew Stafford 4 times, which is significant because they had 10 sacks all season going into last night's game. They were second to last in the league in defensive sacks. They're going to win the next 2 games to get to 5-6.
All right. See,
okay?
that I'm not doing that with this team.
Why?
Okay, I'm just not.
I mean, it's
because
the
if Tua
Patriots.
gets hurt in the first quarter, you guys are all going to be surprised and then calling for his retirement.
Well, that's
like,
Chris Greer's
Well,
fault.
but that goes without saying. If
Right.
anybody
But, no,
gets hurt,
but I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Patrick Mahomes gets hurt right now. What happens to the Chiefs?
You trust Carson
you can
Wentz?
Say that about anybody.
They just won 2
I
Super
do.
Bowls, though. It's totally different.
it's not only totally different. 2 Super Bowls and the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game in 20-something years. It's not just different there.
They're due.
It's also different from there's no margin for error left. These guys doing, that's a win, easy schedule, as if the Dolphins haven't been the easy thing on everyone's schedule for 5 weeks. It's funny.
I know, but now they're healthy and their quarterback is back, and they're playing at home the Raiders and the Patriots. Those are 2 games. I'm with Greg. They are going to win those games. I know you hate that, but they're going to win those games.
I look at the Dolphins' remaining schedule. There's a very reasonable pathway to 8 wins. What they're going to have to do is win a game you don't expect them to win. They're going to have to get to 9 wins. In this league, 9 wins is going to make the wild card, and
All right,
they can do
I
that.
don't trust a 9-8 team to win the Super Bowl.
No.
Maybe
the Packers did it as a 9-7 team.
I don't trust a 9-8 team. Stugotz, you can do outliers with me all day. You could do Trent Dilfer too. I don't want him as my quarterback. Like, it's fine that he was a champion that one year. Don't want him or anyone like him ever as my quarterback.
The difference, though, is that if you do make the playoffs as the lowest seed instead of just having a season where you don't and you lose a couple more games, it's the difference between like a top 15 pick and like a bottom of the first round pick, right? Like that's sort of what you're playing for at that
If
point.
I may. Because being a
You may.
Dolphins fan for as long as Dan has been a Dolphins fan is different than any other fandom. And so, yes, I think if you look at the big picture and say, okay, that team could end up, whatever that number is, 9-8 and squeak into the playoffs, that's fine. But having to watch the entire way this team that you think is supposed to be explosive, but what they get Tyreek Hill a 1-yard touchdown just so he can celebrate. Like, it's not fun to watch. You're watching with your eyes covered because you don't want Tua to get hurt. You think the running game is good, but you really have a running game that's reliable that you can give a running back 30 carries to and let them carry you. No, it just doesn't seem like it's a sustainable thing, and it's certainly not fun to watch this way.
Not like last year. I mean, the drop-off offensively from last year is epic, but they're still a team that has a chance. If you're a Dolphin fan, You're allowed to hope. It's
I'm
not
very
illegal to
frustrated.
hope.
I'm very frustrated by this. I can't help but be frustrated by this because this has to be exasperating to listen to if you're not someone who cares about the Dolphins. You're like, really? They're going to do here comes the 3-6 team because they won a Monday night game.
Right.
They won the most recent game played. And so the last month where we have spent declaring that the season is over now changes because you get to 3-6. I can't do this today.
I don't think it's just last night's game. I think it's the fact that they played at Buffalo the week before. They played a very good game. They lost that game, but it's a game they could have won. Then they won last night's game. Dan, last year in the NFC, you had the Packers get in as the 7th seed at 9-8. They went on the road. They beat Dallas. Like, I think Dolphin fans would take something like that.
Okay, and Dolphin fans will take something like that. Of course, they're 3-6.
I know.
But they could be 5-4.
They'll take anything they will take that feels positive. And last night was positive. When Jessica speaks of draft picks, and this part, the evolution of this one has been super interesting to me in that sport where everyone's jostling for, do we want to trade you a 5th-round pick and a 4th-round pick? Because it's all about maneuvering to get value contracts, to find players you could just lock up because you got someone in the 4th round that no one was expecting you to, and then you can lock him up for a long time. So when she says the difference between a top 15 pick and a bottom 15 pick, I'd take right now the top 15 pick and say, be done with this Dolphin season.
Really?
I don't need to see any more from this Dolphin season. I don't, because what it is that they're playing with, having their quarterback run around in service of this 1-yard passes to Tyreek Hill because the window is now, and it has no vision whatsoever. I'd take the top pick now and be done with the rest of the season. But I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to do nationally with the fact that I'm sitting in a room full of people who, when they talk about the Dolphins, are going to get overly excited about getting to 3-6.
Well, I'm just saying, they technically kept their season alive last night. I really think that's all any of us are saying.
But we're making fun of Jessica because her Steelers aren't that good with 2 losses, and we're saying that can't win deep in the playoffs.
That team is good.
That's crazy.
Thank you, Dan.
They're very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I texted Leeman at like 11 p.m. last night and said they're going to talk about the Rams like they're the 2007 Patriots tomorrow morning. They're gonna be so excited about this. Guys, the Dolphins defense, they were good, but Matthew Stafford was bad. That Rams offense could not stop getting out of their own way. They couldn't stop making mistakes. They looked terrible last night. And that is a 500 team that has struggled this entire season. And yes, you can look down the schedule and look at Vegas and New England and the Jets and say, okay, we're going to win these games, but this is not an easy schedule. This is not an easy schedule, baby. And I love schedule talk. I see a loss, I see wins, but
it's
not
the
a lot
second easiest schedule in the league. It is empirically the second easiest.
After the next, there's 2 games that are easy, and then it gets tough again. But it's just, I'm not ready to quit on this team yet. I'm just not ready to quit on this team. But the macro, Dan, it is sad that last year we felt like we had arrived. The Dolphins are a good team now. Yeah. And we're a year later, and we're back to just being middle of the road. So I'm with you on the macro.
Middle of the road is not 3-6. It's losing 2/3 of your games.
Dan, this is a middle, like
your starting quarterback missed 4 games.
Yeah.
This is a middle of the road team, like talent-wise. This is not one of the worst rosters in the league. But to your point, that's the last place you want to be, directly in the middle. So it's just sad that we seem to have gone from a good team back to being just one of those middle teams. And that, I agree with you. That is sad. I thought that our run of being a good team was going to last longer than just last year.
But that's all predicated on the quarterback being healthy. When your quarterback is healthy, you're a good team. Is that fair to say?
You're a good offense.
Right?
What's wrong with a little positivity and hope? Like, what's going on here? Why can't we be happy? Why can't, like, yesterday was a big win. Why can't we be happy? Calais Campbell found the fountain of Ute yesterday, apparently. Secured himself a spot in Canton last night. Like, we just want to be happy and positive about the team.
But
and it's like
I'll tell you
like,
why.
No, boo, boo.
Because someone has to tug on the other side of the rope when we sound ridiculous celebrating a 3-6 team.
You guys sound ridiculous,
as
thinking
if
they don't have
it
a shot.
means something to win the only game played in football. We have to talk about that just because it was the only game played yesterday. Like, and I really, honestly, like, I know that when Dolphin fans hear this is not what anyone wants to do 12 hours after that victory is hear that. They want to hear these guys celebrating this season as they have the last 20 and been wrong.
So give it to them.
No, you're letting the coaches and the front office off the hook if you're doing that. Because, yes, Tua got hurt. They knew that Tua had concussion issues going into the season. And what was their backup plan? What was the backup plan?
to not know that Skylar Thompson couldn't be their starter, and then to panic and then just go get a guy that they had to get 5 seconds of preparation for.
I'm good not talking about the game at all for the remainder of the show. What I want to talk about is why Tua feels the need to tackle. And the Dolphins should have a guy on the field that when Tua throws an interception, that guy's job is to tackle Tua to prevent Tua from trying to very gently. Two-hand touch. I mean, whatever, just shove him to the ground.
Block him.
Which is it? Is it two-hand touch, shove him to the ground,
pick him up?
Or
I don't
tackle
care.
him? What's the job you're offering? Somebody has to gently cradle him. Put it on the pole.
Hold him back.
At Le Batard Show, should the Dolphins give a roster spot to someone who gently cradles Tua whenever he throws an interception?
Or you just you get in his face, you say, hey, Tua, listen to me. When you throw an interception, you sit on the field crisscross applesauce. That's what you do immediately. You don't move. You don't run after the play. Wherever you are on the field, you sit crisscross applesauce. That's a funny visual of Tua just like in the middle of a play throwing an interception.
He's got a special skill to get his head wherever the action is. Like, it wasn't even just on this one. It was another offensive play. He's just reckless with his brain.
Well, in his defense, on this play where he tried to make a tackle, he's the last line of defense. He goes to the sideline.
No, he's not. There
look
were
at the
so
other,
many Dolphins.
look at the
No,
other.
there's 72's right there.
I'm telling
No,
you.
Chris, look at the full image.
At the
he
other
was
angle.
not the last line of. Look, there's a player right there in the shot. Even
He turned his body. He did not use his head.
You can't coach it out of Tua, apparently, because he did it last week in Buffalo where he's diving head first. He's trying to dive at people's legs, now, which, by the way, is kind of a dirty hit, but he's trying to dive at people's legs here. Also, like, Tua, I love Tua. I want Tua to succeed. I want him to be my long-term quarterback. I think that when he's healthy, he's good, obviously, with this system. However, it seems inevitable that this is going to happen again with the way that he plays, and he's not changing his style of play. So I don't know what you do with him because, like, you can feel bad for him. I feel bad for him that he keeps having these things happen, but he also keeps putting himself in positions for these to happen over and over again. So it's kind of like, Tua, buddy, I love you, but you're doing this to yourself. Like, what are we doing here?
I understand everything that everyone is saying. Totally reasonable. I will tell you guys again that warriors tend not to consider consequences. Otherwise, they wouldn't be warriors. And so what ends up happening in that situation is, you are right. Not unlike George Pickens plays weird. Tua will find your knee with his head. I don't know how. I don't know how it is he's doing that, but he's scaring the hell out of us because we're all telling him, crisscross applesauce, stand up, sit down, have someone cradle you, something else. He's like, no, I'm going head first, right for the knees. Moving, running knees is where I'm going.
To the death of me.
He is so brave. I mean,
and in pursuit of, let's get to 3 and 6.
No, you got to get to 3 and 6 before you can get to 9 and 7, Dan.
beats
Duh.
the
yeah.
alternative.
Do you? I think mathematically you don't.
No, you
actually.
do when you're 2 and 6. You got to get to 3 and 6 before you can get to 9
Well,
and
yes,
7.
when
It's
you're
simple
2 and
math.
6. Yes,
Yeah.
when you're
3,
2 and
4,
6.
5,
But
6,
you don't.
yeah.
Yes, when you're 2 and
You go on
6,
a run.
you do have to get to 3 and 6.
Yeah.
to
You
get
don't
to
think
9
this
and
team
7.
has a shot, huh?
I'm just so tired of the illusion that this sport is. Yes, they have a shot because every 2-win team has a shot. That doesn't mean they all actually have a shot.
Yeah, but, like, can I ask you a question? 9-0 Kansas City. What do you think about them?
Yeah, all one-score wins. And, yes, I thought last year, just like Stugotz, they could be beaten. And they won the Super Bowl. And when the Dolphins went there with a lot of hope, they didn't get anything.
I like that Chris is acting like this is that 2006 Steelers-Colts game where Ben Roethlisberger was the literal last player and saved the tackle by
I know in
tackling
this
the
shot,
Colts player.
Armstead's there, but there's a shot when he's approaching where Tua is the last guy.
Was he a
Even
ghost?
if he
Like,
is the
what's
last
happening
guy,
here?
so what? You're the quarterback.
Look, I'm just saying it
You
would have
got
been an
kneed in
odd
the
look
head.
if Tua was just like, oop, and he got out of the way and let the guy go down.
No,
the field
you say
and
it's an
score.
odd look. Jessica, you bring up that particular play call. It's one of the biggest arguments Stugotz and I have ever had on air. He finally, and he does this quietly, just wanders over to my side of the argument and makes the argument for a Dolphin roster spot going to someone to cradle Tua when he throws an interception. But on that play that you're talking about with Roethlisberger in a playoff game was the last line of defense. I'm yelling at Stugotz, The quarterback in every circumstance needs to, because he is so valuable against the salary cap, anytime he throws an interception, get the hell off of the field. Don't ever one time make a tackle. And Stugotz was arguing with me, not incorrectly, Dan, how ridiculous would it look if Tua throws an interception and immediately sprints away from all the action? Yes, it would look totally ridiculous. And I am here for it for the rest of his career.
Guys, there's a middle ground, which is don't put your head down. There is a middle ground, which is try to stay on your 2 feet with your head up and push the guy out of bounds. He put his head down and got kneed in the head.
He did not. He turned his body into that runner.
Yes.
He did not turn his. Look at it again.
But Dan is saying sprint away from that runner.
And I agree with him.
Greg, how is he not lowering his head? He's on his knee.
Guys, he doesn't know how to tackle. He's just a guy trying not to die.
He tried to make a body
he's not.
tackle.
I would argue he's not trying not to die there.
Right.
He's not wrapping the player. He's just dropping his body and putting his head directly in front of his knee.
That is not a man looking to
no,
not
he isn't.
die. I mean,
You guys aren't seeing the same play I'm looking at.
Greg, he got hit in the helmet with a knee.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
Turn, show the,
Back
show
of
the
the
Chris,
helmet.
show the
Yeah.
Chris angle.
Wait,
where
did
the
it
ghost
happen
people
another
were playing.
time? Are you watching a different
Greg,
clip?
he does get hit by the runner's knee, hits him in the side of the helmet toward the bottom. It's not on his skull, but he is hit by a knee there by the runner. You see his helmet give there. I just don't think there is a middle ground here. I'm not arguing for the middle ground. I'm telling him to get down flat on the ground. Make sure no one can hit him. Get on your stomach. Like fetal,
you're telling him to get off the field.
fetal position, whatever. Just whatever the way is.
Hey,
Whatever.
become a speed bump. Slow him down at least.
No speed bump. I don't want him anywhere near where the tackles are happening.
You guys don't look at the last couple games and say, wow, there's depth on this team. Jonnu Smith has become a great target for Tua. Yesterday, OBJ, 17 yards. Like, there's weapons here.
Let's try it this way. Of the 3-win teams, this is the best one.
There you go, Dan.
I like it. Is that fair?
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, who's better than them with 3 wins?
I don't have
Nobody.
I don't have the schedule in front of me. I just was worried about this 20 minutes ago.
I think if we can convince Dan by the end of the show to be hopeful for the Dolphins, then we have given all fans hope. And I think it should be a goal for
Well,
you,
let's
Stu.
do it another way, because I'm accused all the time of being in an insulated bubble where I don't get the real feelings of America.
Yeah, bad fan.
That hurts so much.
I'm sorry.
You've really wounded me in a place that's
a
deeply
bad
personal to me. Yes.
You're incapable of being a fan.
Yes, no, I love when people judge my fandom as insufficient compared to their fandom. Coming from a total career homer. Lucy, I want to bring you in here because I want to know what you think of this talk as I wrestle with optimist, pessimist, what's the correct way to do this between the Miami audience and the national audience that's laughing at us as a Miami show because trying to talk yourself into 3-6 is pathetic 9 weeks into the season.
Aren't we supposed to be funny? Don't we want them laughing at us?
Good
Isn't
point.
that good? Right?
Very good
Laughing with us is what we prefer. Laughing because of things that we're doing.
Laughing. Yeah.
Mirthful, joyful. So you're experiencing, because I've seen you wander away. You ate an entire apple during this segment.
Okay.
An apple
in my
a day,
defense,
Dan.
We've randomly just started. Look, in my defense, we have randomly just started the show early. No one told me we were doing that. So I had to eat breakfast because guess what? What if I passed out? It would have been good content, but it wouldn't have been good for me.
Most
Or
important meal
even
of the day.
worse, what if I was cranky because I was hungry?
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
Now
an
I'm
apple
not.
wakes you
Now
up more
I'm in
than
a good
coffee
mood,
does.
so I can be the optimist for your pessimist. You're welcome.
But you're surrounded by all of these people who are talking hopefully about a 3-6 team.
No, about a team that's about to be 5-6.
There you go.
Right.
Okay, if you look at the
There
NFL
you go.
standings, 2 weeks from now they're 5-6.
Well said.
And they're right back
It's
in
such
it.
a rallying
Yeah.
cry. It really is. It's what I signed up for when the Dolphins went all in this season. Can they get to 5-6 with the guaranteed 2 wins Cody gives you?
And don't let them get to 6-6 because if they do,
God forbid.
that is a statement.
Yep.
That win over the Packers to put them at 6-6. Don't let that happen, America, because then there's a train and you can't stop that from moving.
Was it the last Brian Flores season where they finished the season on like the 7-game win streak against all teams with the below 500 record, and everyone was like, "Hey, how about the Dolphins?"
What a year.
My favorite of those was Chad Pennington, top 5 in MVP. They go 11-5 in one-score games, get to the playoffs, and get ransacked by Ed Reed in the first round and Ray Lewis by 30 points.
I think he was the runner-up, Chad Pennington.
Yeah, I think he finished second because they won all these one-score games. You know who that is this year? The Chiefs are that this
You're hard
year.
to impress. Like a team wins by one score. That does all these one-score wins. It's just like there's more than just Super Bowl, Dan.
Chris, it's not
a playoff win would be amazing.
Yes, but this is the part, though, where I stop you because the Dolphins have been on this particular treadmill in my lifetime, turning your father, the homer, who used to cover a national team. They became a regional team because of all of the 20 years of that. Oh, if we get there, we'll get a game, and then we'll go through Wanstead and Jimmy Johnson and run them out of town. And the 20 years after that, if we get a game in the playoffs, it'll mean something. And no team in the sport that puts into its rules equality where all the games are close, no team in the sport has done less playoff winning the last 20-something years than the Miami Dolphins. I've seen in my lifetime over the last 20 years, I've seen the Bills go from no playoff appearances in 17 years to now they're dominant. I've seen the Lions go from international laughingstock to now they're dominant. And you're still arguing with me 20 years after I had to endure 7 years of arguing about Tannehill. You're still saying, hey, 3-6 and hope. And I'm like, bleep out of here.
The Jets are still the Jets, though. I mean,
I don't understand. When we argue you need a ring to be successful, like we're bad, but the Dolphins need a ring to impress you.
No, they need to
Rings
not
are
be
nothing with
3-6 with him guaranteeing that they'll get to 5-6.
Don't
and
let
that's
them get
what
to
I'm
6
supposed
and
to
6.
celebrate.
just view it as they're already 5-6. Try it
That's
that
That's
way.
still a losing record.
1-0 in the last one.
Oh,
In the hunt.
I mean,
Guys, Dan's being very reasonable about this take.
Nah.
Okay.
I see what you're doing, though, Dan.
What happened to Yes and there, nah? What happened? Yeah.
Why couldn't Brian Flores just get on that boat? Just illegally meet and tamper with Tom Brady. Everything would have been different.
I think what Dan's doing is he recognizes that everybody wants to see him unhappy and to see him be wrong. And so he's basically getting the rest of the country onto the Dolphins, having them cheer with us. Don't let them get to 6-6. The rest of the country will be looking at you, Dan.
Statement.
Correct. Fans have to play the cards they're dealt.
Yeah.
Okay. Dolphin fans right now have been dealt a bad hand with Tua's 4-game injury with a 3-6 record.
It's a bad head more than a bad hand.
Okay, but the hand they're dealt right now is that we have 2 very, very, very winnable games. We're going to be 5-6, and then talk to me. That's the
Don't
hand.
let them
And-
get to 6-6.
And if the local media continues to say, hey, how about 5-6, then the front office will continue to have no pressure on them
that's
to deliver
absolutely
something
not
better.
True. I wrote when Tua was hurt, I wrote a column second-guessing their whole roster construct. This was the classic team with Tua's vulnerability. This was the team that needed a Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton. Somebody experiences a backup, and they didn't do it. That's a fatal flaw if they don't turn it around to make the playoffs.
I want to understand from you guys who are watching a half a season of football, and we're sitting here measuring it every single week, and we measure it even though we can't predict what kind of injuries there are. We can only guarantee you that there will be many, many injuries. When the Dolphins win that game on Monday night, with a point total, by the way, that is fine, but I don't think it's sustainable to consider that you're going to hold teams consistently like the Rams to 15 points and get into one of these games where they decide they're going to kick nothing but field goals. And they're going to, like, I'm watching the game and I legitimately can't tell. Is this the Dolphins doing it to them with 4 sacks, or is this the Rams just not functioning the way they normally function for whatever the reasons are that I'm not understanding, and they're getting stuck with 5 field goals instead of winning that game 35-23? When you go across the country and you play a team that's otherwise mediocre in a mediocre division that we're assuming San Francisco is going to win because we're not expecting Arizona to stay atop it, but all the teams in that division have 4 losses because everybody's got 4 losses because there are more bad teams in the league than there are good teams in the league.
For sure.
How do you do the analysis on what happened last night that isn't just merely, well, they're 3-6 and now they can be 5-6. I'm talking about real measurements about what you're watching, where they're a small underdog in that game because all of the teams are just about the same. And in this particular game, The Rams had to settle for 5 field goals in a way they don't usually have to settle for 5 field goals. Is it something that I'm just obligated to give the Dolphins credit for that? Or can I look at the Rams and be like, well, that's not normal for them?
I think most people don't expect their team to be fully formed or be ready to roll until playoff time. So you could argue that the Dolphins, without their quarterback for a little while, with some injuries they have to work through, figuring out which weapons are the best weapons, Jonnu Smith probably most reliable one. So you're saying to yourself, okay, just stay in the hunt while we figure this out. By week 16, 17, maybe this is the 70-point offense again. Maybe not, but it might be something better that gives you some hope. I'm just trying to let Dan know how to be a fan a little bit and not rule out your team for the rest of the season.
This is what fans do. I guarantee you Rams fans were doing the same thing last night. Their team looked dreadful. That offense looked dreadful, but they're looking at their schedule and trying to figure out what's the path for us to get to the playoffs. Dan, the Jets have never looked worse. I spent the entire plane ride home figuring out how the Jets could make it to the playoffs because that's what fans do. We hope.
You say that's what fans do, but that team has a coach and a quarterback that have won Super Bowls. This one has been watched for 2 decades in Miami, and you guys have been wrong for 2 decades making this argument with me. Like for 2 damn decades, you guys have been wrong every single time, hoping every single time.
But what are you afraid of? Because we're choosing to be happy here. You're afraid of being happy and trusting this team and then looking silly at the end of the year? Who cares?
Right.
Look silly then, be sad then. Why are you going to be sad for 18 weeks of the year? Be happy now. Be sad at the end.
A year ago, Tua made the Pro Bowl, stayed healthy. The Dolphins had the best or second best offense in the entire league. No apologies for coming into this season with high expectations. And I don't blame the whole thing on Tua missing 4 games, although that's a huge part of it. Since Tua's been back, they've scored 27, 28, and 23 points. That's not bad. That's much better than it had been. And the defense is healthier than it's been all season. Zach Seiler back in the lineup was huge last night.
Seiler.
And they were very good. You know, they had a
tomato.
Matthew Stafford looked bad because the Dolphins made him look bad. And so, you know, I'll be as optimistic as I want to be. Well, also
I get scared of
realistic.
Sealer's name too, though. I got to be honest. It's happened the entire
It's
time
Sealer,
he's been on
Seiler,
the team. No,
you know,
I get scared.
ridiculous.
I got to be honest. I was scared when we sat across from him. I thought I was going to say Seiler as well.
Yeah, it should be Seiler.
Dan, what's in your hand?
Mike, organic as always. This is the coloring book that we are selling at LeBatardAF.com. And you will see here, it is autographed by me, and everybody will autograph about 500 copies of this book. All of you, I've seen the books. They're all stacked up out there. Giant stacks of coloring books that will be signed by every member of our show. Right now, though, we're having some difficulty corralling Stugotz. I just saw him one of the security video cameras. He was waddling through the parking garage, smoking cigarettes, not signing the books. Mike, I don't see your signature on these books. Have you signed any of the 500
I've signed
books?
several books.
Okay.
Just picked one that didn't have my signature on it, but we're doing this in rotations. Everybody but Stugotz.
I will tell you, Stugotz will end up signing this, but I am proud of this book for a number of reasons. One of them is that my brother, you know, is an artist, and Angel Resto does the art for my brother now that my brother is gone, and this is a memory of my brother that is meaningful to me, that we are doing to celebrate all of the ways that we look different than the average show. So LeBatardAF.com is where you go. Mike, thank you. You are very good at these just natural, organic tosses that don't make these sound like a commercial at all. Exceptional work from you.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, just 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, it's not just a game, but a clash of cultures. And for my money, it's the best rivalry in college football. Every time they meet, it feels personal. You know why? Because it is. After 2021, the series took a hiatus, and conference realignment put it in further doubt. But the stars aligned. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, the Holy War is back. BYU and Utah.
Lucy agrees with this.
It's like a very sneaky, underrated rivalry. It's also weird because it's a very religious state, and there's a lot of hatred between these two schools.
And BYU is really dirty.
Yeah.
That's so weird. I don't really picture religious people as having a lot of hate in their hearts generally.
Yeah, you would be
Really?
surprised. You'd
So weird.
never, ever believe it, and they never use it as an excuse either.
Like the campus is dirty?
No, it's impeccable. The campus is impeccable.
Gorgeous.
The players have been for 30 years sneaky dirty.
Speaking of back, Mac Jones. Huh?
Not really.
Good to see him.
Was it?
Ah,
Not really. Not really.
Mac Jones.
3 interceptions.
Back the knife.
Back Jones.
Mac the Knife is your contribution?
Yes. He almost won the game.
Carved him up.
Yep. Like, act.
He had 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, they were sharp passes, though.
Not really.
Yeah, not really. I didn't watch the game.
Attaboy.
Who did? Minnesota and Jacksonville? Please. Got better things to do. I have to clean my fish tank.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Would you have preferred to clean your fish tank than watch 12-7 Vikings over Jags?
Cleveland Cavaliers do it in the playoffs. If Trey Lance is playing football, Trey Lance is throwing interceptions. I've always said, when you want to grow the game, you send Daniel Jones and Bryce Young across the pond. Munich, we're sorry.
You mentioned Trey Lance. I saw a stat. I can't credit the person because I don't have it in front of me, but that just on Sunday, Trey Lance finally threw more passes in high school, college, and the pros than Tom Brady did in his final season with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So Trey Lance, so Tom Brady threw more passes last season with the Bucks than Trey Lance has thrown in his entire life as a football player.
Carolina Panthers, back in the mix.
I give up.
Yeah.
Really?
I give up.
You're giving up?
Yeah. I give up on you guys. I give
Well,
up.
you know a 3-team win? Like, Dan, they have 3 wins. They're in the mix of the NFC. You know that, right?
Right, they are.
They're back.
No, they're not. They're not.
Hope springs eternal.
Yeah. When Dan Campbell's quarterback throws 5 interceptions, he's got you right where he wants you. It's amazing. BYU staying undefeated with their Jewish quarterback, the BY Jew. Top 5 quarterback names, Dan. This would be their names if they were Jewish. You ready?
I don't know.
I love this list.
OLI. Bart Starr of David.
That's an OLI?
Number 5. Daryl LaHanukkah.
Way to take your time with that one, Stu.
Number 4. Jew Bledsoe. Number 3. Bernie Kosher. Number 2. Derek Carr Mitzvah.
I mean, come on.
Number 1. Patrick Schlahomes.
So close.
Shaloms. How did I mess that one up?
Brilliant.
Perfectly. That's how you messed
You
it up.
skipped OLI Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I was terrified of it.
Good job, Taylor.
Matt Ryan. Looks like CBS. Does he not?
He looks like what CBS thinks of as a young person.
If you are living in England and hear a mysterious creaking sound in the air, sorry about that.
Yeah, timing a little flawed.
Don't fret. It's only Manchester City's window finally coming to a close.
Really?
Yes,
Okay,
fret.
that's it. Don't fret. The
Yeah,
window
don't
is
fret.
close.
Taylor. The Bears had 3 quarterbacks to choose from, and they somehow picked the wrong one. Bears are a playoff team, with Drake May. Bears are a conference championship team with Bo Nix. Bears are a Super Bowl team with Jaden Daniels.
Jessica just said in my ear that she has breaking news.
Shane Waldron was fired.
Oh, really? Scapegoat.
Well, not really. There's been 2 offensive coordinators fired this year. One is Shane Waldron, the current Bears OC, and one is Luke Getsy, last year's Bears OC.
I haven't been watching enough Chicago football to say that that's coaching as opposed to 4 offensive linemen being out. Like, which is it?
It's all of the above, yeah.
Top 5 rookie quarterbacks. OLI, Caleb Williams. Number 5, Spencer Rattler. Number 4, Drake May. Number 3, Bo Nix. Number 2, the unknown of Michael Penix. And number 1, Jaden Daniels. Here comes Winnipeg.
What do you mean here they come?
They're good.
They've been here.
Have they lost?
Where?
Have
I don't
they
know.
lost one time this season?
I have no idea. But that hockey team is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least somebody called Jets is winning.
Who's on that team?
I don't know. Name a Jet.
Al Winnipeg.
Good contribution, Cody.
Thank you.
You really should do the Elvis there, pointing fingers, because you're so proud of
No,
your
no.
Al Winnipeg.
Perfect team for him to be on.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's stunning that they would draft him.
You think that's why they drafted him?
probably.
How many hockey players are there named Al?
Al
on it.
McGinnis, I mean, one of the all-time greats. Al Arbor.
Yeah. Good coach.
Great coach.
Yeah.
4 cups.
All-timer.
Yeah.
You want to look up for me? Because I asked how many players were named Al, and you gave me Al Arbor. When did Al
Al
Arbor?
McGinnis. I mean,
Give me,
Al
give,
Ovechkin.
give me Al.
Al.
Give me the life and times of Al Arbor and when the last time was that he was relevant, if you don't mind.
Al Arbor, born in 1932, died in 2015.
Yeah.
Al Horford.
Enjoyed a beautiful life in hockey. A hockey lifer. Real first name Alger, Alger.
Shortened it, huh?
Yeah, he did.
Al Jefferson.
Died
Al
in-
Montoya.
Al Horford.
Sarasota.
Why? Hey, wait a minute. Why? I was just going to yell at Izzy for saying Al Horford when we're not doing basketball players, and then you're not listening, and then you go Al
I'm doing
Horford.
weekend observations. I'm sorry. Daniel Jones, Brian Dayball. Why don't you go ahead and stay in Germany? Top 5 athletes that connote Germany. Number 5, Brock Berlin. Number 4, Mia Hamm. Number 3, Taylor Heineke. Number 2, Mercedes Lewis. And number 1, John Wiener. Schnitzel.
Reggie Jackson?
Ooh, Mr. October.
Fest.
If college games were determined by feistiness, Georgia Tech would be undefeated. Dan, do you know what the U in the U stands for?
I do not.
Not undefeated. Mario Cristobal. Once a bad coach, always a bad coach. Biscoff cookies. Only taste good 35,000 feet up in the air. It's the only time you want one.
Yeah. Or see
You'll
one.
grab 2. I
When,
mean,
when you're trapped in a tube in the sky,
that's all they got.
it's the only time that you will eat those cookies.
Yep. For those keeping track at home, Mike Norvell should now spell his last name with 9 L's. LSU. Do it against Alabama. Brian Kelly isn't cool enough for LSU. It's not. We're wasting Saturday nights in Death Valley on Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly, James Franklin, and Lincoln Riley are all the same coach. LSU bringing in a Tiger from Florida because their Tiger couldn't handle the crowd. You know what they say, Dan? If you have 2 Tigers, you don't have 1.
We got to talk to Magill about that later. I felt bad for all Tigers involved in that situation. All of that felt like cruelty.
Especially Nussmeier.
But we can all agree, if you're in need of a Tiger, Florida is the place to go.
I think we can agree with that.
All right, good. The Jets have the same record as the Panthers. I hate them.
What happened? I thought the Panthers were in the mix.
They are. And so are the Jets.
Damn
I
right
figured
they
out a path for the Jets. We're back. Speaking of back, Russell Wilson. Welcome back to Canton. That team is good, Dan.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Good coach, good defense.
Yeah. That's why you go out and get a Russell Wilson for the late game hard count.
Jessica says that's the best way to end a game in sports, better than the Hail Mary.
Walk off hard count.
Yeah, because you leave with the smugness of knowing that you were smarter than them at the end. It wasn't even better than them athletically, though you were that too. At the very end, the last thing is just a little poke in the eye that just, see, I'm smarter than you, and I get to be that all week. And people are going to remember that I was smarter than you. It feels better than even being better than you.
Every team in the NFL could have had Russell Wilson for free. Mike Tomlin, chess, everyone else, checkers. I love a good airport magazine. Back of the seat, airplane.
Oh, okay.
You know, gives you
that's
this,
an airplane. You mean
an airplane magazine.
You mean
yeah.
an airline magazine?
An airline magazine.
Sky Mall?
Yeah, you know, it shows all the doctors in the city that you're flying to in case you need heart surgery.
Yeah.
I mean,
Top 10 steakhouses, crossword puzzles, all the good stuff.
it's great, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Al Davis.
Sudoku puzzle, whatever that's called.
Oh, I love Sudoku. I don't know why I said it like you said it.
Huh. Where was I?
Airline magazines.
I don't know where I was. Chess, checkers, airport magazine. Every week I ask, which is the week Mike McCarthy is going to get fired? And every week it gets worse. When are they going to fire the guy? I mean, seriously, Deion Sanders is waiting. Can't wait for that to happen. If you look up value the football in the dictionary, you'll find a picture of the 2024 Army football team. Protect the ball. Congratulations to Lane Kiffin on the raise he's about to get for beating Georgia. Carson Beck is playing his way out of the draft. Kansas City with a second-half shutout. Spags. You know what the essence SPAG stands for, Dan?
Shut up.
You got it. Carolina versus Kansas. Couple of blue bloods cutting it up. Taylor.
I'd like you to start editing him.
Believe it or not, there was a time when me, Dan, and Greg could name every player on Carolina and Kansas. Me. We could, right?
Yeah,
Remember those times?
absolutely.
Sam Perkins, James Worthy, Kenny
Yep.
Smith. You knew the team every single year. Now it changes constantly. I don't like college sports.
No,
Well, you're also paying far less attention.
Oh, no doubt.
that's the point.
Doesn't really have to do with their fault that you're not paying
Yeah,
as
bring
much
back Bobby
attention.
Knight.
Yeah. Watching college.
Don't bring
Yeah.
him back.
Let's
No,
throw metal
no,
chairs.
no.
He's
across
dead.
No,
Wood.
no need to bring him back.
Oh.
That's why he's asking to bring him back.
Yeah.
To life?
That's what he was asking, and I'm like, no, it's okay. It's gone.
Was it the tournament expanding from 64 to 68 that did it to you? Like that 4 extra was like too many.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Playing games.
Unnecessary.
Yeah. You know what the L in Lionel Messi stands for?
L.
Lost to a 9 seed. Good guess, though. I mean, I guess it is an L.
Same in spirit. Yeah.
I hadn't seen a team from Miami choke that badly since the Canes did 5 hours earlier.
What a night.
It was a night. Miami, hockey town.
The hockey team's still very good. Hockey team
better
is still excellent. I don't know if I'd say they're better than last year.
Indiana beating Michigan. The rare trap game against the defending national champions. Congratulations to Indiana for playing in its first ever trap game where they're not the trap.
It is pretty amazing. Stugotz has that exactly right. Put it on the poll, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Congratulations to Indiana for playing in their first ever trap game. Yes or no? Where they're not the trap.
Where they're not the trap is important, yes. The Chargers, quietest 6-3 team in NFL history. Chiefs, Lions, Super Bowl, collision course. It's faint, very faint, but Bryce Young has a pulse. They don't?
You're doing a lot with that Carolina victory.
I'm very happy for
They don't come
Bryce.
along very often.
I'm really surprised at
Only
what
couple of
you're
years,
doing.
I mean.
A 3-point overtime victory against the Giants, making its way a couple of times into the weekend observation.
In Munich.
How are we 10 weeks into the NFL season and the Steelers haven't played a division game yet? How?
It's ridiculous.
How?
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. It is. What week is it?
12, 11.
No division games.
So stupid.
Army had a 21-play drive that lasted 13 minutes and 54 seconds. You know what that is, Dan?
Chiefs football at the moment.
Well, it's football.
I hate that that's what they've turned the Chiefs into Army. That's what's happened. It's all 19-play drives for the Chiefs.
Are you saying something is off? What are you saying?
I'm just saying I don't like it.
I just put the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. You heard that, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Todd Bowles coaches to lose. Baker Mayfield deserves better. Florida kicked a field goal down 42-0. You can't kick that sad of a field goal. It was 4th and goal from the 5. You can't do that just to put points on the board. You also can't give Napier an extension and then give him that extension under the umbrella that the team is playing really hard and they're feisty and they're going after it and they haven't given up on the season, and then they give up on the season. You can't do it. Why are they rehiring that guy?
Joke.
Thank you. If there's a will, Dan Campbell is going to find a way. Not properly observing Veterans Day. Meadowlark Media should be ashamed of themselves. You know what the M in Meadowlark Media stands for, Dan? Not military. You know what the S in Stugotz stands for, Dan? It stands for salute the troops.
Damn right.
That's what I was doing yesterday.
Yes.
Yep.
Too.
Thought you were here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We should clarify, Napier signed a 7-year contract in 2021.
He wasn't re-signed.
They're just saying they're not firing him.
Well,
That's not the same.
That's
as,
like re-signing,
that's not
though.
the
It
same.
is.
Well, no, but
He
you
thought
made-
he was going to be
you
fired.
made
It's like
it
getting
sound
hired all
like-
over again.
You made it sound like a contract extension that he wasn't fired. You did make it sound like that.
I did. You're right. But in his mind, it feels like he got hired again, right, for a second time, because he knows he should be fired. I mean,
I don't believe that he feels today like he's been hired again.
Debo Samuel, pick on someone in your own tax bracket. Glad I traveled 2,363 miles to see the Jets suck. How am I doing? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
Billy, what were the highlights from your trip to Arizona? I've heard back reports from fans, from sponsors, from Charles Barkley. I've heard that everybody had a good time there.
What'd Barkley say?
I was asking you about the highlights of everything. How was everything there? What did Barkley say to you guys?
I didn't talk to him. Stugotz talked to him. I felt bad for Charles Barkley because
Same,
he seemed to be just doing Charles Barkley things, and we kind of put a show in the middle of him doing his Charles Barkley thing. So, like, I feel like he goes in and out of that DraftKings Sportsbook regularly. I mean, not to, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like that's just part of his routine. He goes there.
Sounded
maybe,
like you were judging it.
Not at all. No, he goes in there, plays the bet, goes play some golf, goes and cashes in, and then moves on with the rest of his day. And he just kind of is a regular there or whatever. It's just part of his routine where now there's like all these cameras and all these people and people wanted to take photos with him. So I did feel kind of bad for him in that we kind of threw off his routine of sorts.
I did as well, Dan. It's because, all our fans are out there, fans of the show, and Barkley's been a big part of the show. So he's getting mobbed. He's going to get mobbed anyway, but he's getting mobbed by our fans. I think he walks into that regularly, as Billy pointed out, puts in his bets, walks away, plays golf, comes back, cashes in the tickets. No one bothers him. He's in and out. But we had a great time. That DraftKings Sportsbook in Scottsdale, Arizona is phenomenal. And Smirnoff, we thank you for your continued support of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz and God Bless Football. We had a blast.
Yeah.
Dan, I'm telling you, you got to come on one of these. You do, because you'll see a lot of fans, they're so thankful, and they just want to say hello, and they just want to take a picture. And 20 years into this, I mean, it is a really nice feeling to be embraced by the fans the way Billy and I have been embraced at our two stops.
Yeah, it was really nice. I did do a fan dirty, though, and I apologize to said fan because we were excited. We were having a good time, party-like atmosphere, and there was a fan there with a football. He was waving the football around. So I said, hey, toss me that football over there. And apparently security had told him to not throw that football earlier in the day. I did not know that was the situation.
You didn't get someone kicked out of that party, did you?
Well, I said, throw me the football, so he threw me the football, and then what do you do when someone throws you a football? You got to throw it back, right? Even if you have this canopy over you. So I threw a football across the DraftKings Sportsbook, and then moments later, security rushed over to that man and said, you got to go. No throwing footballs inside the DraftKings Sportsbook.
That's where you gotta wield your power a little bit there as you're a talent there. But
I have
hey,
no power.
He can stay. Hey, he's fine.
No, look. So if you see this video, we're playing a video here. The guy was pretty excited about it. I didn't notice there was an autograph on it. I didn't know what the autograph was. I later found out Micah signed that football for him. He wanted me and Stugotz to sign the football as well, but never got to talk to us because he got ejected. Maybe because of me earlier in the day. Yeah.
Were you afraid when that left your hand that you had overthrown it a little bit and was going to hit one of the what are those? I couldn't tell in the background.
Those are betting
those
machines.
slot machines.
No,
or
that's where
betting
you place
machines?
your
betting machines.
Yeah, your picks. Yeah. If
It's
you notice,
heaven, Dan.
I showed some good judgment in that. You see that was over us there, and I decided let me walk out past that so I don't hit that because it was a small window, but. Yeah, got it over to the guy.
You weren't afraid of an overthrow there when it left your hand because it looks like it sails a little bit, this throw, and it looks like
I put
that's
it where
the
he could
reason
catch it.
they tell you
As you
not
can
to
see,
do that.
Where only he could catch it.
Yeah, if
Yes,
you see the man walking towards him that seems to be glowing from the sunlight, that is security looking to escort him out already for throwing the football. So I had to get it in over his head to make sure that our friend there, number 3, caught it.
That guy is ready to kick somebody out.
Oh, what a day for the Bird Gang, let me tell you. What a
like
city.
my
They
brother
embraced
back
us
there
like
in a Bulls
one of our
jersey.
own.
Do you guys think that we should be asking Ron Magill? Because I think we're going to make this a little bit sad if we start asking about the Tiger and we start asking about Greg Cody's contention that horses love to horse race and Greg Cody's contention that horses love to be on the highway going 90 miles an hour in the back of a very small trailer.
I'll go there with him.
Mm-hmm.
It depends how you present it. I feel like if Greg presents it properly, he'll agree with him. I feel like once we start leading the witness, Ron will then start siding with you guys.
I'll let Greg Cody lead that. Lucy, do you have any opinions on either one of these things? I know you have an opinion on the Tiger and the crossing of state lines and just how spooked the Tigers were in general by 90,000 people who smell like whiskey. But beyond that, horse racing also seems like something. I know he's going to defend it because he's a horse owner now. Calmly's a big winner overseas. But he's alleging continually that the horse enjoys driving on the highway in that small trailer at 90 miles an hour.
It's a horse owner.
It definitely doesn't. However, my mom is a horse girl. So so I do have it in my blood a little bit. She showed horses professionally, which is different than horse racing. That's just like, look how pretty my horse is.
She's not horsing around.
She's not horsing around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she was a horse girl. That's actually kind of a bad trait to have. Being a horse girl is out. I don't know if that's why my parents are divorced, but it's probably part of it.
What?
Jessica and I winced at that. But you made both of us wince with a horsing around joke.
No, it's a good line.
Thank you, Greg.
Well, that's a bad ally to have.
That's a great ally to have. It's the only ally I want.
That is a terrible ally to have. The horsing around joke. Jessica and I reacted the same way on our faces if you'd hit us in the face with a flounder, a wet living flounder.
Leeman's dad did that once. He hit one of our friends in the face with a flounder.
He wasn't horsing around.
That's
What
really named
happened?
something.
Leeman and his dad, they're big fish people. They love going fishing, and we went on a fishing trip, and one of our friends didn't really want to touch the fish. He didn't want to bait the hook. He didn't really want to be involved, but he wanted to enjoy being on the water. So when they caught a fish, Leeman's dad took it and slapped him in the face with it.
For not being enough of an outdoorsman, for being just generally fishing squeamish.
Exactly. And I don't think that it cured him.
I think he deserved it, though. I think if you go out on the boat and you're not willing to participate in anything, you deserve a flounder to the face.
I don't know. Fish are kind of slimy and yucky.
I know, but you got to participate in something. You're with a group of friends, a sense of community. Ron Magill has told us that he's eaten all sorts of things with indigenous people and whatnot because he's got to just be polite.
That's not the same thing.
If you go out on a boat, I believe it is the same thing. If you go out,
You think it's the same thing?
Yes. If you go out on a boat with fishermen who have treated you and are hosting you, you have to participate in something. It can't just be that you're disgusted by everything's too slimy for you. You got to participate in something.
Yes, that's the halibut.
That was a good one.
My experience with boaters is they invite me along just to keep my share of the fish.
What do you mean?
So, like, if you go to, like, lobster, like, mini-season, they're like, yeah, you want to come? And then it's, like, because you're only allowed a certain number per person. So I'm just a number to the people that get invited along.
Well, those people are catching a lot of
They just
lobster.
bring me on so then I'm ahead so that they can get more. And then they're like, thank you for your service. Now you can go now. And I don't get any of what my share was.
If you're not actually taking part or touching the fish, what are you doing? You're just standing there bopping
hanging out
around.
with your
and
friends.
getting-
Get
Yeah,
some sun.
You
I
can
mean,
do that
vibes.
anywhere. You
Drinking
can
a
get a public
beer.
sub anywhere. You don't have to eat it on the boat.
But you
You
can't
gotta
get a public
touch the
sub
fish.
anywhere.
Yeah, but that's true, first of all. But also, like, going out on the fishing boat is like an event. It costs a lot of money. You plan for it for a while. You got to get all your stuff together. Everyone kind of does their part. Everyone brings a cooler on board.
But you should be okay with
Extra
getting
set of
smacked in the face
hands.
with a fish if you don't touch the fish.
My dad's done the role of being the useless guy on the fishing trip that
No.
does nothing with the hook and just kind
I
of
have a hard time believing
Crush
that.
just crushes Miller Lights.
I don't like baiting a hook.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You go on the fishing trip, you crush Miller Lights.
Yeah. I don't like baiting a hook or taking a fish off the hook.
Yeah.
What do you like? What part?
Eating the fish.
The beer,
Yeah.
the beer,
Right,
the
the
beer,
beer.
the drinking
Duh.
of the Miller Lights.
I
is
like
what it-
eating a fish.
In Greg's defense, when you're on a boat, everyone has a role. And the people whose roles you don't know are the ones doing it best. The ones whose roles you know are the showy ones that are just trying to do it for appearance. Greg served a purpose on that boat, but he wasn't showy about it.
Right.
He did his job.
When you're salt life, you don't feel like you need to show off.
Exactly right.
You know.
Right.
He's
That
right
kind of
about
thing.
that.
Yeah.
You do need you need a fishing vibes. You need someone that's going to do the music, someone that's going to make sure everyone has a drink.
In
a
charge of
cold
safety.
beverage.
Did everyone make it back alive? Greg
No.
did his job.
Lucy, how are you? Good
Did he say
question,
no?
Billy. Good question. Lucy, you are how on a boat?
As I've gotten older, which this is embarrassing, I've started to get like more motion sick when I do stuff, which has really kind of been tough for me. I haven't been on a boat in a long time. I'm not going fishing ever. That's not my personality type.
Well, this is funny that you should mention this because the last time I was on a boat, I had a similar shame come upon me. It was actually, spreading some remains at sea and with some people who looked like the sea, like people who had leather. Just in general, the Captain Jack looked more like the sea than anyone I've ever seen at sea, and he's just handing me limes because I'm turning green, and evidently limes help somewhat
Scurvy.
with seasickness and scurvy, and so I embarrassed myself the last time I was at sea. You guys make fun of me. This is a true story.
Didn't you own a boat?
I did, but I
Is this
didn't
like a Big
handle-
Lebowski Ashes situation, or
No, I didn't throw any of the ashes, and they didn't end up back in my face like John Goodman. No, but you made fun of me earlier in the show about Jeeves and my butler. Seasickness is so horrible that one time when I went out to Catalina Island one time on a boat and got so sick, throwing up into a bag and stuff, that I took a helicopter back. That I'm just like, I am absolutely not getting on a boat
Climate
again
criminal.
and feeling like that. Yes, agreed. Yes,
You just had a helicopter on speed dial. Like,
Yeah.
come get me?
yeah,
His
come get me.
helicopter.
Come get me, please. Helicopter.
Poor Elise finding Dan a helicopter.
Are you just sick on boats or is it other things? Because my aunt, she gets like really bad like motion sickness. She can't go to IMAX movies because she'll throw up. It's so bad.
This has only happened to me a couple of times, but I would wish seasickness on no one. Like I'm telling you, one of the scariest things on television for me, any form of entertainment, is Deadliest Catch. Like everything happening. I saw a video the other day of one of these cruise ships that was at like a 45-degree angle and things were just falling down. It's one of my great horrors where I'm like, oh my God, no. To be in the middle of something as vast as the ocean and have no control over the vessel I'm in.
Dan, did you see Triangle of Sadness? Because if not, you really need to watch that movie.
Is that the one that makes fun of the rich? Isn't that
There is like a 10-minute long scene of people just vomiting and in the middle of that movie. That is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen. I think you would really enjoy it.
A triangle of sadness. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Does Dan enjoy a triangle of sadness? Would Dan really enjoy a triangle of sadness? Didn't McKay have something to do with that? Didn't he executive produce that one or something like it?
I don't know. Did he?
Sounds like it based on
It seems like something he would produce.
Either
yes,
that
yes.
or isn't there a movie called Menu or something?
Oh,
like
The Menu. That's a very, very similar sort of socioeconomic commentary being made, but just a sort of separate genre of film.
Have none of you been seasick? Have none of you?
I get car sick. I don't get seasick.
I get car sick too.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
same.
my
Really?
Uber driver last night, I thought I was going to throw up. It was horrible.
But Lucy, I only get car sick in the back seat of
Me
a car.
too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Same.
Yes.
It's probably because you're on your phone the whole time. You got to focus on the
No,
horizon.
that's not why. It's because the backseat of cars are the bumpiest rides in like 90% of cars. You just get jostled around. You feel every single bump on the road, and it makes you feel like you're going to throw up all over yourself.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Do you ever get motion sick in the front of the car? Is that unique to the back of the car? Lucy, what was happening in the car? Are you saying you're moving around a lot, or there was like a nightclub bass in the car?
No,
Like,
he was just start, stop. And it was like he would slam on the brakes every single time. So it wouldn't be casual. Even if he was like inching up, he'd really hit
do
the
you
brakes.
give that person a poor rating?
I never give anyone a rating ever. Unless it's like a really really great like ride, I never give ratings, especially because like I think it's just in my brain where I'm like, they probably had a really bad day. And that's why he was slamming on his brakes really hard, even though those aren't correlated at all. But I never give ratings unless it was like a really wonderful experience.
Why do you you're actively abstaining from giving anyone any kind of feedback?
Honestly, truly, the reasoning behind it is I get out of that Uber and then I forget every single thing that happened to me over the last 30 minutes.
Dan,
Like,
have
it's
you
just
accidentally
out of sight, out of mind?
ever gotten into one of those party Ubers where there are like
Yes.
lights and dances and
Yes.
smoke? How are those legal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've thought that in Miami. I have enjoyed that though. I enjoy when all.
Were you
of a
just going to
sudden-
work?
Well, no. I'm coming home late at night from Fort Lauderdale, and next thing I know, there are lights and everything, and it's a distinctly Miami car and distinctly Miami music, and it's ridiculous.
You got to be
It's-
ready for
it's-
those. Like you can't
yeah.
just not expect one of those and then get a party in the car.
Right.
It's a bit of a surprise, but I'm not gonna. I know my general temperament doesn't give off that I would be in the mood for
That you
something.
would roll with it.
That's something like that. But it was such a delightful surprise to see.
My
like,
helicopter does not have this much music. Get me out of here.
Elise, immediately get me a helicopter that has these bass capabilities.
Elise, I need a chopper.
Would you guys say that the way that the Dallas Cowboys game went on Sunday in terms of providing content is the best possible way any of that can go, where it's not merely a loss at home? And I gave you this stat yesterday from the illustrious Babe Laufenberg. The Cowboys have now been down 20-plus in 5 straight games at home. That's never happened in the history of the sport. Jerry Jones is all in. 5 straight games down 20-plus at home. That's good enough just for your content machine. But let's add some things to it. Receiver loses the ball in the sun. Micah Parsons can't stop podcasting. Just can't stop. It is such a wonderful thing. I have no idea how it is, Stugotz. This part is super interesting to me about how athletes of this generation are going to be impacted by just things that happen to athletes that are different now than they were 30 years ago, but temptation and danger is everywhere. I don't know why Sauce Gardner is bad now. Why is Sauce Gardner bad now?
The Jets.
No idea why Sauce Gardner is bad now.
Just told you.
But Micah Parsons is maybe the only real star that team has. Like, if you want to make an argument for Dak and CeeDee Lamb, maybe, okay. But I think in terms of creating a name, voice, platform for himself, and everyone regards him as excellent as well, consensus on excellence, the biggest star they got. And he's a podcast problem because he really likes his podcast. And he's not going to give away his personality to others for free. He's going to monetize it for himself. And then you've got Rex Ryan. Let's get to this sound here because Rex Ryan really took out Micah Parsons and you know how this is among the coaches. They do not like seeing their other coaches taken out, even though a week ago he was calling Mike McDaniel McGenius on the air. Now he's really going after Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons has questioned how much, how hard basically his coaching staff is working is what it feels like. McCarthy particularly.
Mike McCarthy, he doesn't deserve this damn comment. He doesn't. No coach does. Look, there's some horrible coaches out there, but none of them deserve this. The kind of work that they put in as coaches, I'm just telling you, you're giving up family time, you're giving up all kinds of stuff in your life, and you're going to get some ass sitting back. I don't care how talented he is. That is absolutely BS. And if you would work half as freaking hard as a damn coach does, maybe you'd be able to play every damn game. Maybe your team wouldn't just be a bunch of punks and lay it down every damn week like you're doing. How about being a damn football team? You're going to sell your damn coach out? It's a crock of you know what.
Emotional.
He said it, like half of it, right?
What was the context of Micah Parsons saying Mike can leave and go wherever he wants?
We have that clip here that we'll play. I took it more, he's talking about Zach. He's doing it through the prism of Zach Martin. Like, these coaches can go anywhere. I feel bad for the players that might be retiring after this year. Mm-hmm. That's why I think it was kind of taken out of context with the headlines, because he does say Mike McCarthy's name. But here's the full context of Micah Parsons.
You know, that's above my pay grade about if Mike is coaching again next year. But, you know, all coaching aside, Mike can leave and go wherever he wants. But the guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and guys who might be on their last year on their way out, because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did. So those are the kind of guys that I have so much sympathy and hurt for.
That can't be what Rex Ryan is reacting to. Rex Ryan can't be reacting that emotionally to those comments. There have to be other comments. It can't be that.
No, I mean, those are the comments.
Those are the comments.
He did go back on his podcast and kind of just reiterate what he said, but those are the original comments that Rex was speaking about.
Okay, because Rex Ryan was pretty emotional there defending the coaching profession and went after Micah Parsons so emotionally that logic ended up going out the window because he didn't really realize the excellence of the player he's criticizing. So he had to go after him. Maybe if you cared as much as McCarthy, you wouldn't be injured.
But Micah is saying McCarthy is not, and the coaching staff is not putting the work in. And Rex is like, no, I know what goes into being a head coach of an NFL team. What are you talking about? Why are you saying that? Micah Parsons has 3 sacks this year. He's played in 5 games.
He's been injured.
I don't care. I don't want to hear from him. I mean...
It just feels very much like he read the headline. Never watched the video. That's because that was like when I saw the little headline on First Take or whatever, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. Now watching that video, that's not what he said. Like, I just genuinely think he didn't watch it.
I did not hear that as a criticism of Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, it wasn't.
In any form.
Also, he's like Stugotz. He's whether or not he's hurt or not having like the all-star season you want him to have. Like Micah Parsons is like the star of this Dallas Cowboys team.
Is he? I mean, I'm not certain. I think Dak probably is. I think Jerry thinks the Cowboys are the star of the team. The star in the helmet is the star of the team. Jerry might think Jerry is the star of the team. But all this, to answer Dan's original question, all of this is good for Jerry. Because I'm not certain Jerry cares as much about winning than he does about the value of his franchise and everyone talking about his franchise, even during a bad season. And we're sitting here talking about the Cowboys today, and Jerry loves that.
The difference is that Micah doesn't feel a need to like impress Mike McCarthy. He's just worried about what Jerry feels like.
Yes.
I feel like in most organizations, even though every team has an owner, you're trying to keep in good graces with the head coach. Where on this organization,
right,
unlike any other team, it just feels like he knows I can kind of say whatever I want about McCarthy as long as I'm good with Jerry.
Well, that's because Jerry doesn't take the coach seriously. So if Jerry's not going to take the coach seriously, then Mike is going to say whatever he wants about the coach.
I think if you took a poll of players, GMs, coaches, Micah Parsons by far the most respected player, athlete, ability on that team. I think everybody else falls pretty far short. And if anybody can criticize the coach, my guess is it would be him. But I'm with you, Greg. I didn't hear that at all.
I think that one of the things that we do, and Stugotz just did it, and Rex Ryan just did it, and I do find it consistently maddening in the way that sports analysis is delivered. You disagree with someone or the behavior, and then you immediately diminish their excellence. And it's like, no, man, just criticize what the person said.
Right.
Don't say, is Micah Parsons a star?
I don't know.
Like, I mean, what are you doing? You just don't. You just
Giving
don't.
you my opinion.
Okay, but you're not. Your opinion isn't based on the facts or his excellence. It's just based on you disagree with something he did.
I mean, he's never had more than 14 sacks in a season. I mean, I'm not certain he's such a big star.
I mean, Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb are the two biggest stars on that team, along with Dak, only because he's a quarterback. But I do think there's an unwritten rule in the NFL that if you're injured, if you're not playing, you sort of shut up a little bit. Nobody wants to hear, and that wasn't being mouthy. Don't get me wrong.
And he played Sunday, and he played well.
He did. That's true. But he had missed like 5 games before that, and very hurtful games for the Cowboys.
Okay, but he was hurt.
I understand that.
Yeah, but if a player gets hurt and then they don't do any participate in the team or have thoughts or comments about the team or feel like they're part of the team, they get criticized for that too. So, like, how much do you want an injured player to be part of your team?
Like if you have an injured player who's out several weeks, that player is never made available to the media, just as a small example.
Okay, look, you are obviously entitled to say whatever it is that you want to say about this. What I'm not going to do is say that Micah Parsons isn't more excellent at what he does for the Cowboys than anyone else is in their facility over the last 10 years of Cowboys football. I don't think there has been anyone more excellent at what they do than what Micah Parsons is being asked to do for the Cowboys. And I give that kind of excellence a bit of a wide berth on opinion having, whether it is playing in the last 5 games because it is injured or not. Like, I just, what kind of excellence do I have to present? So Tom Brady's the only one who's allowed to say whatever he wants?
Yep, him and Michael Jordan.
Okay.
Can we just rip on Rex Ryan? Because you said it yourself, as Chris just pointed out. He called McDaniel McGenius and is cool just ripping on him. But don't say anything about the Dallas Cowboys, coach.
That was weird. That last week he's fine criticizing McDaniel, making name calling. But this week it's hey, don't talk about the coaches.
It's coach on coach crime, though.
Guys,
this is player on coach crime.
Can you guys look something up for me, though? Because I thought what it is that got Rex Ryan angry and the emotion in what it is that he was saying was based on some sort of conclusion he was drawing on Mike McCarthy not working hard or not caring enough. Like, I thought what Rex Ryan was doing there was in defense of how hard coaches work and how much coaches care. And I didn't hear anything in Micah Parsons' commentary there that questioned or criticized that.
Can I make a potentially spicy take? Ooh. I don't really care what Rex Ryan thinks about the Dallas Cowboys.
No, but at the end of that Micah clip that we played, he does say he's working way more than Mike McCarthy. He says him by name. I think he means by that players work harder than coaches. But he says Mike McCarthy's name, so it can be taken as a shot at Mike McCarthy, even though I still stand by he was just building up like the veteran players.
He was saying McCarthy, if he does get fired, he can go anywhere. The guys he feel bad for, Zach Martin, who's been here forever, who puts in all the work, unlike Mike McCarthy, is essentially what he's saying.
But I would still, look, this part though, okay, so if I may go and turn this into another story, which is the San Francisco story that Kyle Shanahan, who has been ravaged by Key West, says has now been squashed. There is no problem with Deebo Samuel and the long snapper and the kicker. That's what Kyle Shanahan says. But I think what's happening here in both this instance and throughout football all over the place is the guys who give their body to the cause do think they're giving more than anyone else to the cause because they are. Like, whatever Mike McCarthy feels in terms of hurt on Mondays is emotional. It's not physical.
McCarthy's in there at 4 a.m., though.
Yeah, he is, but he's not in there with his body collapsing for reasons other than, he had a breakfast burrito.
That is the disconnect, though. The coaches are like, I'm in here 4 a.m. till 9 p.m. working these long hours, and the players are like, I got a concussion last week.
He's 61. His body probably hurts more than the players, to be perfectly honest with you.
Just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
NFL head coaches are clogging toilets before the players are even waking up.
There you go. Spicy.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. I don't think it was that spicy a take to not care what Rex
I
Ryan
took some
thinks.
Tums.
A little bite to it.
She said potentially spicy. She did. in their defense.
At Le
Depends
Batard
how
Show.
your spice tolerance, I guess.
Whose body hurts more? Whose body hurts more? 61-year-old coach getting out of bed in the morning? Football player waking up on Monday morning? Let's examine this for a second because
I think the coach.
Well, Stugotz has been doing a lot of flying lately. He's always complaining every day about his shoulder hurting and his back hurting.
Or third option, my friend who got slapped in the face with a fish.
Yeah. That is amazing. You said this was Leeman's father?
Leeman's father did it to Leeman's friend, and then Leeman was the best man at his wedding. How cute is that? He forgave him.
Wow.
Jessica, that is one of the most alpha moves I've ever heard. Hitting someone in the face with a fish.
I didn't think it happened in real life.
I have a video.
How big was the fish?
You're not enough of a fisherman for my liking. You have insulted my entire boating community and my outdoor sensibilities. How about a slimy fish across your face?
A challenge of a duel.
I have rarely heard a disrespect larger than hitting someone in the face with a fish that you're still holding. It's not even you don't even throw it at him. You're just slapping. Which is more insulting? Put this on the poll as well, Juju, at Le Batard Show. More insulting, slapping someone across the face with your hand or slapping someone across the face with a flounder?
Let's just state the obvious. If Leeman's dad did this to me, he would not be making it home from the fishing trip.
I mean, I don't think he would do it to you. I think I could accuse... I'm
a real alpha.
I could arrest him for assault, and he would run the prison, being in there as someone who slapped a friend of a son with a fish in the face.
What was it in international waters?
Maritime law. Yeah,
anything goes.
Assault life.
You have the prisoners in jail saying, hey, did you hear about this guy, how he got in here?
I have Leeman's father running the entire yard because the rumor has circulated that guy's in here for taking out his son's friend by hitting him in the face with a wet fish. Do you know how unpleasant that is for someone who doesn't want to bait a hook?
Well, you also have to be careful which fish, right? Because some of the fish are scaly and can cut you.
That will cut you. Terrible. I've been hit with a fish.
Yeah.
Accidentally, not slapped with one, but like a fish has flown off out of the water and hit me on a boat. It's not pleasant.
Greg, did you make a spatchcock chicken yesterday?
I did.
How did that turn
did
out?
it come out wonderful. It was perfect. It was the perfect size for my air fryer.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is he?
Thank you.
Is he?
Thank you. I mean, is he?
You can't turn the conversation that was that recently with Greg on a boat being hit in the face by a fish.
Fish to chicken. It's a natural
a
transition.
fish that jumped out of the water.
Right.
That wasn't true. He was
fish?
stuck
I
in
think
midair.
it was a barracuda, but a very small one.
You were not hit in the face by a barracuda.
Like a needlefish or
You
something.
Right. Oh, the needlefish.
You were not hit in the face by a flying barracuda.
It might have been a black shark, but very, very small. I don't mean to over-dramatize it.
Right.
You know.
That's right. It's time for Against the Spread. And it's brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear about all that DraftKings has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Lucy, kick us off.
All right, this weekend I am taking Oregon minus 14.5 against Wisconsin. I know that Dan Lanning likes to do funky stuff when he's playing teams that aren't necessarily the best teams you've ever seen. Wisconsin's a bad football team. Iowa scored 40 points on Wisconsin. Iowa scored 40 points on Wisconsin.
That's
so I feel
impossible.
I know. It feels wrong. It happened. So I feel very confident in Oregon minus 14.5 this week against the spread.
Izzy, what do you got?
I am super excited about my against the spread. Last time I did it against the spread, it was back when the Indiana Fever were still in the playoffs. It was the Fever plus 6.5, and I got that right. They only lost by 6.
Wow.
And this one, Dan, the NBA Cup is back tonight, baby. We got the Mavericks and Warriors out in Golden State. That's Clay's return game. They're all going to be wearing little captain's hats because he's Captain Clay. Did you know that? Nobody knew that, really.
Weird.
But I'm going to go with
cute.
Heat Pistons, right? The Heat and Pistons in their first NBA Cup game. The Heat are favored by 1.5. I'm going to pick them to cover. The exciting thing about this game, though, Asar Thompson, who is a second-year player for the Detroit Pistons, like Chris Bosh, had some blood clot issues. He has been cleared to return, and that is great news for Asar Thompson. He and his brother were on the show once.
Against the spread?
The spread.
Heat minus 1.5.
What's
Billy-
the NBA Cup?
A lot of
Billy, bring us home.
I'm going to pick
much.
the Buffalo Bills minus 2.5 at the Kansas City Chiefs. Or no, hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people are saying, hey, the Chiefs are undefeated. They've been blowing everybody out. No, they haven't. It turns out last game they almost lost on a field goal by the Broncos, and then the Chiefs in the last minute blocked it.
Huh.
So I think that there's going to be an upset here, even though they're favored. I'm going to take the Bills minus 2.5 over the Kansas City Chiefs, putting to an end the undefeated season, and Mercury Morris & Co. can celebrate that they will still have the only undefeated season in the NFL against the spread.
Your timing was impeccable there with everybody, working with the group to make music and punctuation on that segment as only you can, Billy.
That was my fault?
I
mean, if I'm the lead singer, the band has to be playing to my tune.
Okay.
So I would be arguing that they were not keeping up with my pace.
Huh.
Also, Mercury Morris no longer with us.
That's fine. You can celebrate in heaven.
Yeah.
Who made you the lead singer?
Okay.
We could bring him back like Bobby Knight.
Perfectville. Population 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Mercury always used to say. And they eventually made a sign out of it. Like a, welcome to Perfectville sign. Population 1. Brilliant.
A guy also got a tattoo that said undefeated, unforgotten on his belly.
Really?
Yeah. There's a whole thing.
Okay.
Picture. Big belly he had.
Great.
A lot of
Dolphins got
letters.
that, man. Never take that away from them.
Yeah.
Who's trying? I love it when athletes say, they can never take that away from me. People aren't trying to take that away from you. Any athlete who's ever said that, you're paranoid.
Yeah.
They can't take that away from us.
You
Who
can
are
have
they?
it. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Stugotz has taken 2 championships from Kevin Durant.
They're probably referring to Stugotz
Well,
and
maybe.
his personal record book, which I can't wait to get my hands on.
Well, thank you, Greg. StugottsBook.com right now if you want to pre-order.
I think it comes out in about 15 days. The books are doing very well around here. I have a couple of funny stories for you guys from Greg Cody earlier in the show. Right before the show started, he, as is his wont, he was complaining about an assortment of things. I asked him how the book was doing. He said it was doing very, very well. And then he looks at me and he says, "And I'm sure you're getting a substantive cut." And I look at him and I'm like, I don't think I've not gotten $1. I don't expect to get $1 from the sales of your book. And he's like, no, you've got a big deal with Mango Publishing. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me call my COO now and ask him. And so I asked him. And of course he says, no, not one single dollar. And then your father complains. He's like, tell him to pay me. Where's my check? And so I say, Bimmel, where is Greg Cody's check? And Bimmel asks the question that is a real neutralizer. Has he invoiced me? And then the answer is, of course, no. So Greg Cody's expecting to be paid for something he hasn't asked to be paid for and is complaining about not being paid when he hasn't told anybody that he hasn't been paid.
What is this, 1965? Who does invoices?
Right.
When I had a conversation with Bimmel, I'm like, cut me 4 checks a year.
Yep.
Pay me quarterly. I'm not invoice. Oh, I was in Monday and Tuesday this week. Let me invoice that. Where's my mimeograph paper so I can invoice something and send it to Bimmel?
It's a trick because he knows you're not going to invoice him.
Right.
Because who does that?
Who
no
does
one.
that?
Right. So it's like kicking the
Invoice.
can down the road. I'm not even certain the invoice would help.
I don't know how to invoice. Where do you buy a piece of paper that says invoice on it?
You just I hate to defend this, Greg, but it is standard practice for contractors and media to send invoices.
Is that right?
With a 30-day deadline for payment. Yeah, you just
Better
you
get
just,
on that.
I mean,
You just make it in Google Docs and you write invoice on the top in big font, and then in little font you
Am
put
I
your name
working
and
on
your
a construction
address,
site?
and then you say pay to, and then you put Meadowlark's address underneath that, and then you put the amount and the rate,
Hang on, I'm taking
and then
notes
the
for him.
total, and then the date, and then an invoice.
I don't
number.
do all that.
It's really easy. I
Okay.
can help you.
And he
I
knows
have
you
not-
won't. Right?
I have not filed for mileage at the Miami Herald in 40 years because it's not worth it to me to do all that paperwork and cut through all that red tape so that I can get a check for $30.
You pay for all your flights?
No, he said mileage, driving mileage.
Oh, okay.
Driving mileage. Theoretically,
Greg, that's
when
so
I go
much
to a
money
Dolphin game, I could put in
accumulated.
for mileage. Who cares?
That's a lot of money, actually.
Yes.
Well, but it's not worth my time to do an invoice.
He oozes privilege in ways he just doesn't even understand. Like, he speaks that so effortlessly. I should get money because you guys should pay me, and I shouldn't abide by any of whatever the rules are to what payment is. I don't need your money in any way. I just want to complain about not getting money.
But why should Greg have to add up the miles? Just trust him. He's Greg Cody. When he tells you the amount of miles and how much gas and how much money he's owed, just trust him.
Because
But
you
he's not
exist.
telling them.
That's why.
Listen, I didn't even know we had mileage. We could do that?
Yes, you can, and I can show you how to do it.
Oh,
I
really?
do it every single week.
All right.
Greg, what would be the amount that you'd be like, okay, this is worth my time?
Well, if I were flying somewhere.
No, with your mileage and driving. The
My
amount,
guess is that
because
you have no idea how much money you're leaving on the
Yeah,
table. But
I'm assuming
I'm
it's a
guessing
lot.
if we added up what your mileage could have been for the last 40 years, you will be shocked by what that number
Keeping
is.
the Herald in business, though. Let's not start filing for mileage now.
But Greg doesn't see it that way. He sees it as $22 at a time, and it's a lot of work for $22. That's all he's saying.
I should ask for retroactive mileage and put in an invoice for about $19,000.
I'm about to do it.
You should bankrupt McClatchy.
It wouldn't be a big reach.
By just sending your mileage for the last 40 years. You should have
one invoice.
An attorney, just one itemized invoice for the last 40 years that finishes off McClatchy.
I imagine the budget meetings, and McClatchy's like, why do we have this surplus? And they look, wow, Greg Cody doing us an amazing favor, never put in mileage once.
I know. Believe me, if they ever threaten to fire me, I'm going to say, you realize how much money I've saved this company over the last 40 years?
It's going to get you nowhere.
Yeah, zero. Yeah. They don't give a.
Are you their longest standing employee? Do you know?
Currently, I am, I'm sure.
Wow.
He's sitting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing. I haven't really stopped to figure it out. There may be somebody who, isn't a writer, who's like works background, who maybe they're longer than me. I don't know. Do we still have press rooms? Somebody, putting the paper to bed, that kind of guy, or woman. I don't even know.
Wouldn't
if
you have
papers
the
are
answers?
put to bed anymore.
You would have the answers to these questions.
He really is just ruminating. He's just
talking it out.
How
man.
does my
in the office
newspaper
talking
get
it out.
put out? I don't know. The industry's failing. I'm just floating around on a sea of garbage for the rest of my
never
life
in
as
the
journalism dies.
So you cooked the chicken yesterday.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't brag about it. I would be honest. If it were terrible, I would say so. I was worried that the skin wasn't going to get crisped up because it was marinated in like a lemon rosemary sauce.
But your oven's broken, right? That's why you had to go with the air fryer. You were nervous about that.
I went with the air fryer, and I was prepared to crisp it up in one of these old-timey Ron Popeil rotisserie mini ovens, which I have and haven't used for like 40 years. I assume it still works. But the air fryer did the trick. Okay, I've only been using an air fryer the last couple of years. It's the best thing that's ever happened.
It's a pretty
in the
great
kitchen.
invention.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's just
I
great.
love that you just sort of discovered it here, though, recently,
Yeah.
right? Because
Within the past couple of years.
And you're hard to get to learn anything, to change, to grow. You know what you know. You're comfortable in what you know. You don't need to know anything else.
Right.
So you embarking on a air fryer is a big step for you, is it not? You probably fought the urge to learn for a long time there. You're learning allergic.
Right. No, I that's probably a fair comment. I adopt new things cautiously, but
Reluctantly.
Okay, but when I approve of something new, it has the gold seal. You know what I mean? Another
means
example
nothing.
is I've just recently purchased a digital scale.
Really?
You gold sealed it?
I no longer have to look at a needle.
Wow.
Go
Big day.
between numbers. Now it tells me down to the 0.2 of an inch. So I know whether I weigh
Of a pound.
191.4 ounces.
Of a pound, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. And but shouldn't they make it down to the 1/10? Like,
Well,
know?
it sounds like you got a good one.
Yeah.
Mine's
Good
just
one.
a 1/10.
Oh,
2/10.
really?
That's incredible.
Depends what you need to measure and weigh.
Yeah, it's you don't like to get on that scale when you're me. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
But
Not after a
but
rotisserie
the scale
chicken.
itself is great.
Right. Golden seal.
Spatchcock chicken.
Yeah. As is the spatchcock chicken in an air fryer.
Does your scale have the thing where it's like programmed person 1, person 2, so you can keep track? Because I always forget, am I person 1 or person 2?
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
And then I go and I'm like, I gained 87 pounds. That's insane. Wasn't me.
That's above my pay grade. I use the scale to, like, I got had a propane tank filled the other day for my griddle, and I wanted to weigh my 2 propane tanks to see which was the lighter, because to the hand they both felt exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So I weighed them both on my digital scale. They were exactly the same. They both weighed 23.2 ounces.
Wow.
What a payoff to the story. Amazing. The fireworks show concludes with the punctuation you were expecting.
The golden seal.
Amazing. The golden seal. Cody, it's taken us weeks to get to this subject matter with Ron Magill. I have failed. So go ahead and set up the question that we've had for him for weeks to get an answer that I'm not contaminating the jury pool on. Go ahead and just tell Ron Magill what your theory is, and let's see if we can get an answer from him that agrees with you.
Yeah, Ron, I don't know that this is quantifiable or can be proven or disproven, but I have a supposition that when horses are riding in a horse trailer on a highway going 60 miles an hour, that they enjoy the ride, that they not only tolerate it and it doesn't stress them, but that they enjoy it. My anecdotal evidence is sometimes the horse trailer allows you to see the head of the horse, and I always see a relaxed animal in there. I never sense any stress, any agitation. What's your thought on that?
Oh, it depends on the horse. I mean, it's just like people. Some people, are afraid to go on roller coasters. Some people love going on roller coasters. Horses generally that are used to being trailered know it's safe. And like a dog putting his face in the breeze with the air blowing through and, being kind of enriched by the surrounding environment, the changing environment, it's somewhat positively stimulating certainly for some horses. They tend to enjoy it. But I think other horses, would get panicked with it. I mean, it's, again, as individual as people, it's just the ability of a person to help train their horse to trust the trailer and understand there's no threat there.
Yeah, I'll take that as a win. Thank you, Ron.
Mm-hmm.
By percentage, majority, minority of horses.
Tampering.
If you had to argue on one behalf or the other, which Aston answered. Aston answered is what you just said to me. The majority of horses enjoy that or don't enjoy that.
Well, I would say that if you went out to a herd of horses and tried to trailer them that had never been trailered before, the majority overwhelmingly would not like it. That being said, if you've got a horse that you have trained and you've gotten to trust a trailer, a horse that is moving all the time from show to show or whatever, those horses can enjoy such a thing. Again, it's all the individual, all the type of training the animal's been given. Generally speaking, the horses you see on trailers that are calm, looking out the slats of the trailer, are pretty much enjoying or just very relaxed in the trailer. If a horse is not relaxed, you would know it. So when you see a horse relaxed that way, it's doing pretty well.
Ron, it sounds kind of like this is like humans that are afraid of flying, right? Like they're afraid of it because they've never done it before. But the more they fly, the more they get comfortable, the more they almost enjoy it. So it's almost like we should be putting all horses in trailers and driving them around, and then they'll all enjoy it, theoretically, correct?
Well, no, theoretically, because my wife's been flying for 50 years and she still hates it and can't stand it and is still very uncomfortable flying.
You need a horse to water,
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the individual. There are certainly some horses that will never like to be in a trailer, and there are others that really do like it. When you train your dog, for instance, you'll use a sky kennel in your home to kind of house train your dog, right? The dog learns that, okay, this is my house kennel. This is where I find my security. There are dogs that actually love to sleep in their kennels as opposed to having the whole run of the house. That's where they find their security. You can do the same thing with a trailer with a horse, making the horse understand, listen, this is your safe space. You're going to be good in here and enjoy the scenery as we ride. Enjoy the breeze in your face. There are other horses that are going to say, I don't believe you. I'm never going to believe you. And I'm going to be totally panicked the whole way. And those are horses that don't go in trailers.
Ron, there's this very popular guy on YouTube who does like manicures and pedicures for cows and horses, like with their hooves. I'm wondering if you've seen those videos and if that is a sort of thing that is common, that there's just people that for a living they treat wounded cow hooves and like spray them with salicylic acid and wrap them up all the time. Well,
hoof stock, hoof training and trimming and cleansing, that is very important, very popular. It's very important for their health. We do that here at the zoo with everything from giraffes to elephants. They get pedicures, manicures, whatever you want to call them. So that hoof care is very, very important. Horses, that's a profession. Being a good farrier, you have good farriers and you have bad farriers. If you don't treat those feet the right way, that can lead to a type of ailment that actually can create the animal to be lame and eventually actually lead to its death. So hoof care is very, very important. Now, this guy may be dressing up for YouTube, put a little polish on there, making it look a little foo-foo and this and that. But the core of the care is very important.
Ron, I've seen a thing called freeze branding as opposed to regular branding for horses and cattle and stuff like that. Is that new? And also, is that more humane than regular branding?
Listen, branding, whether it's freezing or heat, it's a painful process. But having said that, so is tattooing, and some people love that. So I don't know what to say in that matter. I mean, when people get tattoos, it's their choice. I think when you're branding an animal, it's certainly not its choice, and it doesn't understand what the branding's for. I'm not a big fan of branding. More than that, I prefer, maybe an ear tag, which is quick and boom and there. But branding, and I understand the reason for it. I understand out in big herds, out in big plains and stuff, it's much easier to identify property that way. I'm just not a fan of it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it done, and it's not pleasant by any stretch of the imagination.
Ron, one of the things about animal care that fascinates me is, and isn't talked about much, is animal dentistry. How big a part of your animal care is that at your zoo?
Huge. It's absolutely huge. And people who don't think dentistry is important for their dogs and their cats, you could be shaving, years off the life of your animal. Dental care is absolutely critical to the overall general health of an animal, any animal. Whenever we immobilize everything from tigers to zebras here, the zebras will float their teeth much like you'll float. You take it's like a file to float their teeth to make sure they're meeting properly so the animal can masticate its food properly. Tigers and carnivores, we're constantly removing the tartar from them and primates, things like that, because the same types of infections can take place in the mouths of these animals as can take place in people. And what happens to people who don't take care of their teeth? Dental care, that can lead to all kinds of secondary issues that can become really critical.
Do you believe that the horses enjoy horse racing?
That's a tough question. I do believe that horses will instinctively run against each other. I used to not race my horse, but I would ride my horse. And when I had friends of mine with their horses and we go out on a big airstrip, man, when those horses start running, I didn't have to go. I mean, I just let them go. And once the other one, they raced each other. And there seemed to be a challenge that way. Having said that, horse racing in and of itself, what goes beyond the closed doors of the barn and what they do with these horses, I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan. I just think that
we didn't ask if you're a fan. We asked whether or not the horses
not personal
enjoy
opinion
it or not.
here. Yeah, exactly
right.
right. Sounds like some do.
Don't need your politics involved.
Wow.
What was your horse's name?
My horse's name was Tampico.
Tampico.
Nice.
I like it.
Oh, right.
That was my horse's name.
Let's have Greg ask that question, okay, and see if he gets a different response from Ron, because I believe he might.
How do you spell that? How do you spell that horse's name? What does that horse's name mean?
Tampico is a little town in Mexico where his parents were born.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tampico.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, I was making, you may not even know, I'm a fractional owner of a racehorse named Comley. And there are good trainers and bad trainers. There are mistreated horses out there for sure. My racing syndicate, I think, has really high marks for horse care. I was making the argument that if you're a thoroughbred
a racing
racehorse,
syndicate, when I just think of a racing syndicate, I don't think of great care. Once you throw in the phrase syndicate, I just don't think of care.
And the way you said it is if you've had a lot of experience with other syndicates. Yeah. You went to one syndicate. You've seen one syndicate.
Well, I get an insider's bulletin twice a week. That
email, they don't put all the bad stuff they do.
That details all of the progress they're making in animal care and the way that they're at the head of the industry on that, believe it or don't. But my question to Ron is, I think a thoroughbred racehorse is well taken care of. I think these are some of the most cared for animals around. I don't think, they're mistreated. And I'm wondering if you agree with that or don't.
I don't think they're mistreated. Unfortunately, like you say, there are some areas where they can be. My big concern with thoroughbred horses is when they're no longer winning races and they can no longer race, what happens to them? And that's something that I think a lot of the, people who have investigated this have found things that have been not so happy, let's say.
Right.
My sister's horse, his name was Titan. He was a racing horse. And if my sister had not gotten that horse, he was on his way to the glue factory. That's something that bothered me. At the end of the day, Greg, I think the problem is, as it is with so many things, money. If this horse is making you money and he's producing for you, boy, you're not gonna hold back on investing to keep that money flowing.
Right.
But as soon as that stops, what happens to that horse? Now, again, I went to school at UF up in Gainesville. I was in Ocala quite a bit. That's horse country here in Florida. I saw people caring for retired horses there in incredible ways. Some of those like Ocala ranches and farms are phenomenal what they invest in their horses. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, but I just think when you start getting into the amount of money that's involved in these race horses, I would like to see that amount of money invested in them throughout their lives and not just when they can produce for you.
That's fair.
Ron, we've talked about live mascots before, but I'm wondering if you saw what happened this past
that
weekend.
LSU. I cannot believe
Ron!
Don't be sorry. Go ahead.
No, please. It made me very angry and sad also. So what was your reaction?
It's just I couldn't believe they did that again. I mean, this is like, God bless America. They had stopped doing that because they finally listened to people saying, listen, you should not be putting a tiger in a cage in the middle of a football field with tens of thousands of people around it. It's just a horrific thought to do that. And they do this again. And I was sickened by it. To be honest with you, I was really ticked off to see that happen again. And I'm sure they're getting such a rash of crap right now that they won't do it again.
Can you explain to us, for those who do not understand, how it is that you might humanize a tiger, how disorienting that particular environment would be to something as finicky as, the feline kingdom?
This is a solitary animal that depends on elusiveness, on being able to stalk, being able to kind of be invisible. Okay. And now all of a sudden you're putting it in a cage where it has no escape to get away from anything, a tiny little cage surrounded by tens of thousands of people with all these bright lights and flashes and music and screaming and all that stuff. Look, let me just put this in perspective. Okay. Why don't you take a child and isolate that child, never having exposed them to this type of thing, and put them in a cage and have all these screaming people, all these lights and stuff going on, and think of what would happen. It's just not natural. It's the wrong thing to do, man. This urge we have to always set the bar for more likes and more clicks and more social media reaction is at the detriment of living things, and that shouldn't be. To me, I know this is going to rile some people, but social media to me is the toilet bowl of the internet. For whatever good it does, I can find 20 things that are worse that it does, and it saddens me. It really saddens me to see something like as majestic, as beautiful as a tiger subjected to that kind of exposure, that exploitation for the sake of wows at a football game.
I don't think that social media is responsible for putting that tiger on the field. And I'm with Chris Cody, who's been arguing all week that we should take Brian Kelly and just put him in the Serengeti and see how that goes. Just
in a cage. In a cage, of course.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe even maybe not in a cage. He'd feel safer in a cage than not in a cage. I'd put him in not a cage and let him just wander around out there. I don't think people necessarily understand how skittish the tiger is, though, Ron. Like when you're talking about the lights and the music, the tiger, I think we assign strengths to the tiger that don't really understand its personality very well.
Exactly. You're exactly right. This tiger is stressed. I guarantee you he's stressed just because he's not, flailing against the bars and screaming. This is an internalized stress. I can promise you that tiger felt stress going out there and experiencing all of those, stimulations around it. That's just not natural for an animal like that. And it's, to me, it's inhumane.
I got to tell you, though, Ron, I'm shocked that your tiger take is what it is, but horses, no problem. 85 miles an hour down the highway.
Yep.
Just
Greg's 2 for 2.
Just flying down the highway. Thrilled to be doing it.
Wait a minute.
That's the way I heard it.
You're talking about a domestic animal that has been born and raised and acclimated to a certain situation for transport. Okay, you're not exploiting that animal. You're transporting it safely because you have trained it properly to go from point A to point B. You're not taking an animal against its will and putting it into a cage and exposing it to all kinds of stimulation that is nothing but stressful to that animal. I can guarantee you that if the horse was bucking and going crazy in the trailer, they would not have put it in the trailer and moved it out because it would have ended up killing itself. Okay. So these horses that you see trailered have been trained. There's a big distinction between a domestic animal and a wild animal. Okay.
Plus they have beautiful
same thing to you. When you put your dog in the car, a horse is a domestic animal. It's an animal that's been domesticated over hundreds, if not thousands of years. This is not the same as a tiger.
A beautiful horse blanket.
That's the thing about that. The horses travel with beautiful blankets on their back. Yeah. Am I wrong, Ron?
They do. I don't know if that makes it any better for them traveling, but
a blanket makes everything better.
Of course,
Come
you
on.
cuddle up with a blanket.
Yeah, Ron, what kind of fool are you? How do you not understand that a blanket makes everything better? See you later, Ron. Good talking to you. Fool. You fool.
Slice of heaven, guys. Slice of heaven, guys. Have a good week.
Chris, why are you obsessed with the Syracuse coach?
Oh, my God. I'm so glad we got to this. As my dad is clacking away on his typewriter. Dad, we've started.
Greg,
we're
we
doing
started.
podcast.
We're doing show. We're doing show. Greg, you got to put your headset on.
Is
You got to
this the-
stop your clackety-clacking.
Yeah. Is this the Syracuse football coach?
This is the Syracuse football coach, and they took a tough L this week.
They
and
did.
I'm just going to let this guy speak for himself, but I am mesmerized by this.
Honestly, I got like a ritual. Like when we lose, I ain't even getting a shower till early this morning. I just be mad. I just brush my teeth. But it's like I don't deserve soap. I don't deserve to do all that. I'm just focused on like trying to get back and trying to make sure that our players mentally understand and know that I let them down, that they didn't do it. There's a process that I follow every week. Win, lose, or draw. Only thing is like my wife, I can't sleep in the bed if we lose because I ain't gonna get in the shower for that day. I'm just mad and I just sit there. I just brush my teeth. That's what I have to do so y'all won't say my breath stink. But I'm just kind of locked in at certain things, certain ways. I think you gotta earn the right to do certain things. So, winners get washed. You know what I'm saying? I'm a loser. I just kind of waited a little bit.
I'm just confused on the distinction where win or lose, your teeth get cleaned, but your body, like to me, it would just be like one thing. Like after a loss, I don't wash anything, or like he's just like my knees, my back, no soap for me. But I need toothpaste. Obviously, I need toothpaste.
Seems willy-nilly.
I don't think so. I think it's principled, and I think he's being a nice man by protecting us from his breath. The rest of him is not likely to stink the way that his breath would stink unbrushed. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you have to earn your soap at Le Batard Show?
That's insane to me. Winners get washed is what the logo, the motto he's trying to go with. It's like a coffee is for closers thing. No, washing is not for you. It's for others. You are around other people. Wash yourself, man.
All right, put that on the poll as well, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Washing for you or for others? Because I don't feel like I'm washing for others, but he was definitely brushing his teeth for others.
But he said he can't sleep in the bed with his wife because he stinks. You're washing for her, not for you.
What happens if they lose their bowl game? I mean, this is not going to be pretty. That's a long off season.
I've never heard of the phrase having to earn the right to take a shower. I've never heard of that before.
You like it, though, huh?
He has invented that, and I give him credit for it.
Right.
Fran Brown is his name, incidentally, because I feel like we're all talking around that for some reason.
We know his name. Florida Georgia coach.
Does a shower in the pool count here? Like,
yes.
Can you do that after a
No,
loss?
that doesn't
100%.
count. That does not count.
It always counts.
That does not count.
Yeah, babe.
I have not heard of Izzy's theory there of cleaning for others. I don't believe that is something that one does. I clean for myself to remain clean, not for others. It's not because I don't want to stink for others. It's because I don't want to stink for myself.
So when you give yourself a little whiff, you're not worried about other people smelling it. It's just you.
I'm also worried about other people smelling it, but I don't want to smell myself smelling bad. It's not because I'm trying to protect anybody from anything.
I think body is for others, hair is for yourself.
Because everyone likes their own brand.
They're both for both.
Even when I smell bad, I'm like, that's not terrible.
Not my hair.
Also,
I don't like washing my hair.
I said Florida Georgia coach. I meant to say former Georgia coach.
Yeah, that was weird.
I just
I knew what you meant.
Florida
That
slipped
cleared it
out.
up, yeah.
I started thinking of an F word, and the first one was Florida, which is what I've been thinking for the last week. So that was a verbal typo.
My hair looks better when it's dirty, honestly.
According to whom?
I've never seen your hair.
Ever?
No, you always wear a baseball cap. I imagine
Oh.
you shower with a baseball cap. Like I never
No.
see your hair. You never come in here without a baseball cap. You never work a work day without a baseball cap, do you?
Yeah, sometimes. Every now and then.
I like your hat
Occasionally.
today, by the way.
Thank you. I got it for Arizona, the trip we just came on when I was part of the Bird Gang. How did I do in fantasy this week? Great question, Jess. Listener League, not a good week for me. Finished in the low 400s again. If you want, you can compete against us. Join GBF's weekly fantasy football contest. dkng.co/Smirnoff, presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. $3, that's all it takes to kind of join, and you can win a lot more than that if you're, at the top. I was not, again, 400th place. But, yeah, I know how I feel about this string across the top of the hat.
It's been controversial.
They're in.
I've heard a lot of people really, really hate it, but I think it's kind of neat. I don't know. It's not bad.
It looks like piping on really old curtains. I
Yeah.
don't think it looks
It's
modern.
in, though. String along the brim
I like
of
the
hat.
added texture. I don't think it's that bad. But people have really hated the hats this year.
I didn't know that it had this on it when I purchased it. I got it on Fanatics, and I got it because I didn't want to spend a ton of money right beforehand, because that's what I did in Chicago. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go Fanatics. There's always a sale on Fanatics. If you pay full price, you're a fool. Always a promo code. So I had it ordered to my house. I did it a week and a half beforehand. It got there, Dan, I know you're wondering, 25 minutes before I left for the airport, a week and a half later. Almost missed it.
I can
Almost
show
had to-
you how to ramp it if you want, Billy.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Let's
Very
do that.
easy to expense.
Okay.
Have you guys seen the hats that are like the upside down letters? They're very popular right now, and I think they're very cool, and I want to buy one, but I have a feeling that in like 3 months they're going to be so out.
It's kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie, Lucy. Like I think it would look cool for a few weeks, and then we're gonna just be like, why do we have our letters upside down?
The
on
Florida
hats again?
Panthers have one that like that. It says Panthers upside down.
What's the point of that?
Just
Exactly.
They look cool.
It's wacky.
Handstands, cartwheels, yeah,
Yeah,
I could read
they're
it.
aesthetic, but I can tell it's a trend and not, something
It's not gonna last.
long-standing.
Upside down letters, they're not gonna last, guys.
They're not.
I'm not the only person whose hair looks better when it's dirty.
Yeah, day 2. That's
Yeah.
my best look.
The
That's
day
what-
after
day
you
two's
wash
not
your hair, it
dirty.
looks better than the day you wash your hair. The day I wash my hair, if I put in conditioner, oof, it's a mess.
Don't they say you're not supposed to wash your hair for like 3 weeks?
Yeah,
like, isn't
hate
that
they.
right?
Studies
No.
say that.
Three
yes.
weeks.
Not,
Yeah.
That's
No.
not
Look it up.
They
accurate.
said that.
Jeans and hair. We don't know when to wash them.
That's not true. I don't know. About
Some people
that.
never wash their jeans.
The pants or
I wash my jeans.
Some
I feel
people
like you should wash
Some
your
people have
jeans.
different rules about jeans.
Well, you're not supposed to wash them after every wear.
See,
No.
there we go.
That's
I
what
wear
we're
it for a
saying.
couple of weeks.
Right.
We can't agree. There's no this is the
Yes.
rules on this.
You know what I don't know? Suits. Do you dry clean a suit every time you wear it?
You have to.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's what you did.
Every time you wear it, you have to dry clean. It's a lot of dry cleaning, but if I'm on a
Billy,
dance
if you
floor,
wore a suit into the office as a bit for like a 1-hour show,
Yeah.
I would not get that dry cleaned.
But if
you
you're
wore a
dancing the
suit
night away-
to a wedding, I would get that dry cleaned.
I have a dirty little secret.
Ooh.
Is it
Yeah.
your hair?
No. I washed it today. That's why you're not going to see it. I had a dirty little secret. I dry cleaned a suit the other day, and I had a 2-suit weekend, like a situation where I needed to wear a suit twice in the same weekend.
What a weekend.
It was something, and then I had a decision to make. Do I wear 2 different suits, or dare I wear the same suit twice? Because there was only 2 people along with me. Well, I guess my children also, but 2 adults along with me that would know that I wore the same suit back-to-back days.
Who are
Changed the shirt, but I didn't wear a tie the second time.
Who are those adults? Like, are they people like
My wife and my mother-in-law.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah, you're
suit.
fine.
So I was
Yeah,
trying to
same
figure out, I was going to wear a different suit the second day, and then I was like, do I jacket? Do I not jacket? That's a whole thing. When you're a guy, you don't
Jacket
know
off.
if it...
Jeez.
Because here's the thing. First one, baptism. My daughter's baptism, have to wear a suit for that. I have to go
I
dressed
knew
to the
one of
nines
these
for that.
was a baptism.
Yeah, my daughter's baptism. Had to do it for that. The other one, a quinceañera. So what do I do for a quinceañera? How do I go dressed to
Do you
this
need a suit for
quinceañera?
that?
That was the question.
tie,
And then
no
I don't
tie.
know. Do I go suit jacket? Do I not? Because you don't want to be overdressed. You don't want to be underdressed. So I ended up going suit, no tie, shirt. And then I was wearing a very similar color scheme to the father of the daughter. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't wear a tie because we would look like twinsies. Also, fun fact, ding dong, who's there? Jorge Soler at the quinces.
Wow.
Wow. How about
Like
that?
like a paid appearance, or he just knew the people?
Nah, it was friends of the family.
I like
yeah,
the idea.
he was just there.
Jorge Soler in uniform, getting paid like $6,000 just to be there. Hello,
Didn't
everyone.
dance. Just kind of hanging out with kids,
Aw,
playing on the
You should
phone.
have asked him for a dance.
No. My daughter kept dancing with his wife and his daughter, and I was, can you please stop it? You're embarrassing me. We have
So you
to
didn't
ask
talk
like
to
we
him?
don't know this hilarious. No, I didn't talk to him. What was I going to say?
Missed opportunity.
Ding
Hi, I'm
dong.
Billy.
Then the next day he was traded to the Angels.
Huh.
weird weekend.
These are all just things that happened. Facts, not connected, just all facts.
Why wouldn't you just talk to Jorge Soler?
He was with his family. I didn't want to bother him.
Right.
Why would I bother him? He was
because-
playing with his kids.
Because you were a fan and are a fan.
I didn't
and
even know it was
are
him.
at
Someone
a-
told me.
At a wedding. You didn't know it was him?
No, I mean, how do you think I walk around with Jorge Soler's baseball card checking to see who?
wait a
I'm
minute.
guessing none of us would know.
Dan,
I'm
okay, hold on a
guessing-
second. If you entered a room and Jorge Soler was there, I don't think that you would know it was him
Billy,
right off the bat.
Billy, I watched the Marlins season when he hit 30 home runs. Yes,
Same.
I would.
No,
Like,
I don't
what
think
are you
so.
talking about?
I don't think so.
In this
Okay.
scenario, I have him in a Braves uniform.
Okay.
So
Would
that's
you know,
why I would
okay,
recognize
okay.
him.
Would you know Joey Wendell?
More difficult, but again, Soler hit 30. He was in the lineup every day for a year.
Yeah, but he
for
wasn't
them.
wearing his Marlins jersey at this thing.
And he's played for the
He didn't have
Giants
his
and the
number, his
Braves.
name on the
Like,
back of his
come
suit.
on.
I
Come
think
on.
you think it's easy until you have to do it.
Exactly
Dan.
right.
Right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
But
Stugotz
yeah,
gets
context.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
But what if he went home and he was sad? No one recognized him, and that he was there, and like no one.
I'm with
all-
Billy though.
all
I
these
always
Marlins
lean
fans.
against. Just leave him alone.
Yeah, he's there with his family.
My
They're
dad
playing on the
did.
phone, whatever.
Me and my dad a few weeks ago were at Hooters before bowling, as we
Wow.
do, and we saw a former Marlins player. I'm not going to say his name, and I was
Why?
I was just like,
He's protecting him
Why?
from, the,
Who
from
are you
Hooters.
protecting?
Hooters is not
He's
illegal,
protecting
Chris.
from Hooters like it's a
I'm
strip
just,
club.
look, every time I say names around here, everyone's like, oh, they didn't want, like, I'm
no,
trying to just
it's
be.
it's when you take pictures
Yes.
of Craig Minervini and he doesn't know you're doing it and you post them.
Dude, that was like 10 years ago. Relax.
Right.
But that's different, though.
But
So
my
name
dad,
names.
my
Right.
dad, because I was like, ooh, there's that person. I'm not gonna go up to them. My dad was just like walked right up to him, like, hey, what's up, man? Good to see you.
That's good, yeah.
He's a legend. He doesn't care.
It was Charles Johnson, the former catcher.
CJ.
And I have a relationship with him. We're not great friends, but I know enough to, schmooze with him.
Yeah.
And make small talk.
It was
with
an
him.
awkward
Right.
conversation.
No,
I
it's
was-
polite.
That's how you build sources.
I bet you
I was
CJ
hoping
enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I was hoping he'd buy me a beer. He never did. But I like him anyway.
Dan told us a story just last week that he saw Pudge and he asked him about his statue. Like, that's what you do when you see people. If anything, I was in the... Well, I don't have a relationship
You
with Jorge
avoided
Soler.
Soler.
I didn't avoid him. I just didn't...
actively avoided
No.
Soler.
No,
He
he
didn't know
enjoyed
he was
it.
there.
No,
Even
he
though
enjoyed
you're a
it.
fan, he did know he was there. He was told he was there.
I was told, yeah. Someone said, "Do you know Jorge Soler? He's a baseball player. He's over there." And I was like, "Yeah, he was on the Marlins." Like,
Billy,
2 years
he was
ago.
at this party. No one recognized him or
Yeah.
said hi, and he probably texted his agent and said, "Get me out of this town. No one watches baseball here. They don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I need to go to a real baseball."
Well, he
town."
was in Atlanta last year. So.
Yeah, he's been traded like 3 times
Yeah,
since he left.
poor
the
guy.
Marlins.
Oh, really?
Now he's in Anaheim.
Yeah.
Then
There's no way you would have recognized
Where
him.
careers
Dan.
go to die.
Can I betray confidence here? My mother-in-law afterwards was like, he's probably a multi-millionaire, and I'm like, oh, I know. And then I looked him up. I'm like, yeah, 130 multi-millions. He's made so much money. Could you imagine making $130 million and then going to a quinceañera on 8th Street
How
on
much
a Sunday
do you think
night?
he paid the birthday girl?
I was wondering that too. You have to give a good gift,
like 10
right?
grand, right?
That's why
No
he was invited,
chance,
right?
No chance. No, I think that it was like cousins of the mother of the girl. Yeah.
Man, where can't that guy bat 220 and hit 30 home runs?
I am legitimately surprised that Billy would watch as many Marlins games as he does and not recognize one of their best players.
I don't go up and just bother people also. Like, that's another thing. Why would I do? And also, like, why would I just assume if someone looks like Jorge Soler, they're Jorge Soler at a family member's quinceañera? There's no connection there in my mind. Why would I think that? Like, if Tom Cruise was there, I'd just be like, hey, you're Tom Cruise. You definitely belong here. No, you never think to say
Penelope
hello
Cruz, maybe, but not Tom Cruise. But Jorge Soler, absolutely. I mean, he's Hispanic. He played in Miami. He's got relatives. He can go to a quinceañera, sure.
I saw, I think it was, now this is weird. I think it was like, who was it? It was Gurriel. Did he play for the Marlins too? I think I saw Gurriel. Was he on the Marlins?
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw him when I was driving to work one day coming out of his house. It was one of those days that Waze puts you and takes you like on all these weird back roads. And then I was looking and I was like, wow, that's a green Lamborghini truck. That seems like a weird fit for this house. And then I saw the person coming out and getting their mail and it was him. And I was like, you live there. Cool.
You recognized him immediately.
I did, yeah, because he had a hairstyle that you would remember, and he has a green Lamborghini. So like you see it and you're like, okay, who has a green Lamborghini?
How is the group
That's who
about?
has a green Lamborghini.
Me or him? Yeah. I almost hit Josh from the challenge with my car the other day. I think.
What?
Yeah, driving down the street.
My friend almost hit Bruno Mars with her car.
Really?
Yeah, that was crazy. He was not happy about it.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan.
How is the group about approaching people that they know or don't know in public who are famous and they admire? Because I would think that this group would have a number of different responses to that kind of situation. I imagine Stugotz in all of those situations being shamelessly aggressive about asking for things.
How hammered am I?
I'm sober and I'm totally fine with it. So I don't care. I'll approach anyone and talk about anything. It's, small talk. You got to work your way into the conversation, and then suddenly you become friends, and the next thing you know, he's on the show. I mean, that's how I do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'm shy enough where I'm not going to introduce myself to someone and
Right.
say, hey, so-and-so, I love your work, or, blah, blah, blah. If I haven't met the person previously, I do not go up to them.
One time, Dan, I was sitting on a plane next to Stanley Tucci. Wow. And
Really?
Yeah.
That is big.
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci.
Yeah. And I said to myself before I fell asleep, I had the window, and I was like, wow, Devil Wears Prada, I got to say something to him, but not now because it's weird. There's a 3-hour flight, so I just go to sleep. And as I'm waking up and getting off the plane, hey, Tooch, love you in Devil Wears Prada. And then we move on.
Wow. Oh, I love him so much.
That's the way to do it. You either don't say anything or you're just like real quick, like appreciate your work and walk away.
But I've had this before where it's like I'm sitting at like a dinner, like I'm at dinner with someone, and at the very end, they're like, hey, big fan of the show. That's almost creepier. It's like,
did they listen to me?
You've been sitting here the whole time. Like, I'd rather you do it on the front end, if I'm being honest. Just like, Tooch, big fan of your work. I'm going to go to sleep now. Like, doing it at the end,
because then
it's
he's
just, it makes
uneasy the whole flight, Chris. He's wondering, is he going to continue to talk to me? Is he looking up my IMDb
Yeah, but
right now?
Tucci is sitting there at the end of the flight saying, was that guy thinking about me the entire flight?
He thinks that you were looking at him the whole flight. Like, oh, man, I'm sitting next to Stanley Tucci.
He definitely, famous people notice when you glance at them and recognize them, even if you think you didn't, even if you think you did it slyly. He knows that you knew.
So you're saying I should have said something early?
Earlier
I
would've
not at all?
because I thought like I could win him over as a friend. So that's a different conversation.
The thing that I don't think you guys are allowing for, and the only reason that I'm saying this is because it's happened to me one time that I could remember. I'm in the Louvre, and I'm looking at Jason Lee, and I'm looking at him with the same look that he's looking at me, which is, I'm like, is that Jason Lee? And
Look at
he
me, Louvre.
seems to be like, is that Dan Le Batard?
Wow.
Because some of you are actually known. There is the possibility that Billy can run into Jorge Soler and that Soler. Now, Soler is not he's not a great example.
Soler was not sitting there thinking, who is that?
Yeah, I know. Is Billy going to come say hi to me?
It's happened. It has happened to people on our show with middle relievers, with people in the bullpen who will look up in the stands and be like, I listened to your show. It has happened. And so I'm saying it can happen when you're looking at somebody not sure if they are who you think they are, and they're looking at you not sure if you are who they think they are.
Do you ever have people come up to you and they ask if you're who you are and you say no? I had someone come up to me and be like, are you Lucy? And then he was like, actually, Lucy's a lot taller than you are. And I was like, yeah, I'm not her, but I do get that all the time. And then he like kept talking to me about me, and he was like, yeah, she's like several inches taller than you are. And I said, yeah, I've never met her. I don't know. And then eventually someone came up and called me Lucy, and he was like, are you serious? And I was like, oh, yeah, gotcha.
That's probably a better
But he
experience.
said nice things about me, just that I was short.
I saw Terrell Suggs at the Louvre once.
Wow.
I took a picture with him, and
T-Sizzle.
I was like, hey, I mean, and all my girlfriends, this was in college, all my girlfriends were like, who is that? And I was like, don't worry about it. We're taking a picture with Terrell Suggs. So we took a picture with him, and then I was like, by the way, I'm a Steelers fan. And he was like, screw you. And I was like, screw you. And it was
It's like the Louvre is the place to go. I mean,
It really is.
Where
That's
is
how the
this
Mona
place?
Lisa at the Louvre.
I mean,
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is the Louvre the place to go?
So did Jason Lee come up to you? How did that story end?
No, we just sort of stared at each other and made that recognition
staring contest,
very,
huh?
very clearly. Yeah.
The
Did
story
anyone
was
blink?
different to
I
me
Magic
because I
moment.
thought you said the loo, and you were staring at each other in the bathroom. That
Totally
felt
different
different.
Remember when
That's
that
what I
guy
thought, too.
at Magic City said that Woody was taking a in the bathroom?
Well, he went and talked to him while he was doing that, which seems incredibly invasive. And that is not something I would do to anybody in the world. Although I do have a friend who was bragging one time about being, and this seemed like an awful story. It felt unpleasant, all of it. Being at a nightclub and having Jim Brown's hand come down under the partition and be like, "Can I have some toilet paper? There's no toilet paper over here." He knew he was sitting next to Jim Brown. Jim Brown was sitting next to him, and then Jim Brown's hand comes out.
That's a story right there.
That is awesome.
Jim Brown.
I cannot spare a square. Dan, before the show ends today, I want you to be aware of something. A fan sent us 2 hats, one for you and one for me, from Incarnate Ward, the school in Texas that we talked about last week that you could not pronounce the name of. And they were like, someone else, I don't know if it was the same person, but they sent me a tweet and they were like, thanks for standing up for Incarnate Word. And I was like, I didn't say anything nice about Incarnate Word. I simply pronounced the name Incarnate Word correctly. So we got hats because of that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for the contribution. I still can't pronounce it. Incarnate Ward is how I pronounced it.
No, that's a wide receiver.
That's correct.
That is not correct. I got it wrong.
Hines Ward.
There it is. Just a
Love
useless
Heinz
joke.
Ward.
Just useless. It's the Kornheiser humor. I'm telling you, there's an age, I think it might be 70, where all you've got in the tank on your humor is you just say another ward that is like the previous word.
Ward.
That's correct. How about that? Did I do it right?
Well, you're supposed to say something after that.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, after the countdown.
What do I know?
Chris wanted you to start the segment there.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to trust me to start a segment.
Well, you seem like you were scared of it, so.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a horse in a trailer at 85 miles an hour. I'm terrified.
Right.
No, they're not. We learned today.
Yes.
I know. I'm just kidding.
You were 2 for 2, but you're into this Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, aren't you?
You know, I am, and I'm not a big pay-per-view guy.
Right.
But I think I might fork up some money to watch this fight.
Well, luckily, if you have Netflix, I think you're good.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, it's just on Netflix.
You're already paying for it.
Oh,
yes.
there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
I don't know. I have pay-per-view. What do I know?
It's very confusing. I'm with you.
It is confusing.
You're right. Yeah.
PPV.
Yeah.
I'm the world's biggest Mike Tyson fan until the fight's over. Then I don't really care. But I'm just not a big Jake Paul fan.
I think this is a classic Greg Cody in his, 70 years old, still thinking he can kick a 50-yard field goal. This is you thinking that Mike Tyson can still be the Mike Tyson of old. I think a lot of people are worried about Mike Tyson in this fight.
Okay, I get that.
That if he takes a blow from Jake Paul, that this could do some serious damage to an older man.
You think your dad is headed into it with the expectation that Mike Tyson is still going to be Mike Tyson?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this. I think Mike Tyson has enough in a punch where if he lands one just right, it will hurt Jake Paul.
Oh, Jake Paul will be out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm counting on. I'm not counting on stamina. I'm not counting on him being the Mike Tyson of old for 5 rounds. I'm counting on a quick finish, a quick strike and I know there's a big height advantage. I imagine there's a reach advantage as well for Jake Paul.
I'm curious what Tyson looks like after that first 2 minutes of he's going to come out, he's going to try to do his thing. Does he have his wind?
But I think what your dad is saying is Tyson has to get it done inside of 2 minutes or he's not going to get it done.
Pretty much.
Yes. What if this is just Mike Tyson and Jake Paul looking for a payday and they're going to play patty cake and everyone's going to be like, oh, this is not a real fight. This is clearly just them. And look at all of us suckers watching this fight and they're just dancing around the ring.
Right.
Because they are friends. I just find, I don't know, man. And as
I understand why your dad doesn't like Jake Paul. I think it's not that you don't like him. It seems like a boxing gimmick, the whole thing.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
Right.
No, I admit that. And what makes me suspicious is the idea that, all right, somebody's going to win. There's going to be a rematch. The other guy is going to win. And then there's going to be the big third fight where the winner takes
I don't think Tyson has multiple fights in him.
No?
He's got 2 minutes in him.
Yeah, this is...
I mean, I don't know.
He looks good for his age.
He's only 58. He's not that old.
Right, but for that to play out, Tyson has to win the first one, I think, right?
I mean, okay, so
Yes.
I just Googled what their paydays are supposed to be for this. The expected purse for Jake Paul is $40 million, and the expected purse for Mike Tyson is $20 million.
Why is that?
How is that possible?
Respect.
I know Jake Paul is a draw, but the last few fights of his have not been that popular. Everyone's talking about this one. Mike Tyson, to me, like that should be a 50-50 split on that money.
I don't know how this works, but I'm honestly wondering how you generate $60 million off of this fight on Netflix, which is a subscription-based thing, and they're not charging for the fight. So, like, I don't think anyone is signing up for Netflix to watch this fight that doesn't already have it, right?
So how the person's
and
so
what
big?
what is the gate going to be? Like, it just seems like, I guess they're going to sell some advertising in it, but, like, how are you generating this much money that you're guaranteeing Jake Paul $40 million for a fight?
But in terms of the disparity and how much they're getting paid, and we all agree Tyson should be getting paid more, well, at least the same. Let's just say that.
I think more.
But it's a Jake Paul production, is it not?
I believe it's his.
So it's his company.
He's got a whole production company, so
Right.
that's probably why he.
So
gets more
he's
money.
taking the bigger. Yeah, he's
probably
as he
paying
should.
for everything,
Right?
Like, you know what I mean? Like where Mike Tyson is just getting paid to show up.
He's getting $20 million with no expenses. You know,
I would think, and this obviously I'm probably going to sound dumb for saying this, but like I would think Jake Paul is probably bringing more eyes to this fight than Mike Tyson.
So I would agree with you, Billy. But for people like me and Greg Cody, we don't want to believe that.
No, I know
we
that.
probably know it, but we don't want to believe it.
By the way, I would also say that Mike Tyson is bringing more eyes to a Jake Paul fight than a Jake Paul fight against someone else would also, if that makes sense.
I agree on both counts.
Like, I think, okay, let me rephrase this. I think if Jake Paul was having a fight and Mike Tyson was having a fight, Jake Paul would outdraw a Mike Tyson fight at this point in time. But I feel like Mike Tyson going to a Jake Paul fight would outdraw any other Jake Paul fight that he could possibly have.
Agreed.
So the two of them together
Yes.
is a perfect match.
Where does Jake Paul go from here? I mean,
he should take a fall, honestly. I know people are saying that Mike Tyson will take a fall. If Jake loses and they make this and it's competitive enough that they make
a
this
trilogy?
Yeah. Oh man, wouldn't that be great?
I'm reading that Jake Paul has predicted that this will get 25 million viewers, which would be by far the most watched boxing match of all time.
But to Billy's point, it's not pay-per-view. Netflix is already something you're paying for.
Yeah, which is why he's predicting so many viewers because so many people already have Netflix.
Right.
By the way, ESPN Plus does it with UFC, right? Where you're just it's like they have their deal with ESPN Plus, and you have to pay for ESPN Plus, but then you have to pay for the UFC fight on top of the ESPN Plus. That's not how this is working with this fight, to my understanding. If you have Netflix, you can watch it.
You turn on Netflix, the fight is there.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying, Chris, in terms of telling us the audience and what Jake Paul expects, but no one's paying for it. Because they're already getting it. You just turn on your Netflix. It's there.
And they don't tell you numbers ever. Like with the Brady roast. They don't tell you numbers, but they say, hey, this was the most watched thing ever. You know they're going to do this with this boxing match.
They give you numbers, but they give you 75 billion streamed minutes. And it's hold on a second.
Divided by how many?
Wait, well, that was 6 hours long. 6 hours times 60. What is that, 3,600 minutes, something like that? That's how we get to a billion real quick, right? That Tom Brady roast, way too long. Can we agree on that?
Way too long.
Way, way too long.
Yes.
You're starting to understand why I guess the Comedy Central ones were done days before and then edited down to an hour because, man, 3.5 hours or whatever that Brady roast was never. I sat down 3 different times to try to finish it. I never finished it.
And Andrew Schultz, who went last, he was funny, but I feel like people were just tired at that point. I feel like his set would have gotten more laughs if it was an hour 2. But it was one of the last ones where people were just I'm done.
He got a bad draw.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. They were probably going with him as one of the closers, but it was too long.
You want to go third. Yeah. Same thing with this fight. Where there's an undercard. Where do you want to fight on this card? They can't have too many fights because here's the thing about this, right? Is that at the end of the day, it's still boxing. Right? So, if you don't care about boxing, but you like the spectacle, are you going to sit through 2 hours of boxing matches that you don't care about to get to this fight at the end?
Oh, I'm not watching an undercard. I mean,
no, hell no.
I just want to see Tyson for 2 minutes.
Right, exactly. That's me too.
Right.
And I think there's an interesting dynamic to this fight, though, because for a lot of his career, Mike Tyson sort of played the villain. He was the guy that a lot of fans were rooting against. I think it's the opposite now. And largely because of the age difference, I think 80% of America is rooting for Tyson to win, whether or not they have a bet on the fight.
I agree. I mean, I think most people...
No, but I think we're making a mistake with just how popular Jake Paul has become with younger people.
No, yeah, but I just feel even some of those younger people, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just doing my age.
No, but he's very punchable.
No, but he is very punchable. My daughter wants to watch the fight. She has no idea who Mike Tyson is.
Wow.
She's watching for Jake Paul.
Right.
That's impossible.
She has Billy.
She's never seen The Hangover. She's for sure knows Mike Tyson through pop culture, maybe not as like a fighter.
I asked her, do you know who Mike Tyson is? She said, no, I have no idea. Now, maybe that would jog. So I have no idea, but she's watching it for Jake Paul. And that's all I'm saying. Me and Greg, as older people, are probably not giving Jake Paul enough credit and thinking Tyson is the draw here. Tyson is the draw for us, not for everyone else. I don't think.
That's a good point. The idea that your grown daughter would never have heard of Mike Tyson is surprising, but I guess it shouldn't shock me. He is 58, right?
At what age are you grown?
I mean,
I think when you're away
she's
to college.
20. Yeah.
Okay, so
you're
she's grown.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's grown.
And she's always your little girl.
Yeah, always. Both of them, Emma and Rachel. What's the most wrong you've ever been about something in your career? Because I have a nominee for myself.
Okay. People always bring up my Trade Dan Marino column. So
that's it, yes.
Yeah, I'll let that speak for itself.
As you should.
Yeah.
For me, it's Dan Campbell. I mock the Lions relentlessly, and it's funny. The Dolphins had him. Like, he could be the Dolphins head coach. At one point, he was the tight ends coach. He was the interim coach in 2015. But when the Lions made him their head coach, I laughed at the Lions. I'm like, there's no way that meathead is going to be able to galvanize a team and lead that team into the playoffs and take an organization like the Lions, who I would say over the last 40 years, much like the Jets, have been the worst organization, not just in the NFL, anywhere in sports. That's how bad the Lions were before Dan Campbell took over. And I said, Dan Campbell is not going to fix this mess. Dan Campbell has fixed this mess. So much so, I wish he was my head coach. I do.
Yeah.
So Dan Campbell, I apologize. I was wrong about you. You're not a bad head coach. You're not a good head coach. You're a great head coach.
The Dolphins have had some funny coaches in that, like, you remember Tony Sparano? And it wasn't even something that he did here, but Tony Sparano did one of the funniest things that I remember a coach doing. So he went to Oakland after he was here, maybe a stop or two later, and he took over as the interim head coach of the Raiders when they fired someone. And he decided to kind of set the tone after he took over to bury a football.
Yeah.
That's coaching.
Very Dan Campbell move, honestly.
It really is.
You're
like
right,
him and Dan, they had both of them in this building. I don't know why we couldn't have had these moments here.
Yeah. Well, I remember Dave Wannstedt when he was here.
The lobster trap.
The lobster trap. The week of a trap game, there would be all these New England lobster traps all over the locker room. It was like, really?
Yeah.
Like grown-ass men playing or like getting inspired
A
by
big part of
lobster
coaching
trap?
is props, I think.
I think a big part of coaching is props. I
Yeah.
agree with you, but I also think it's that guy played the game. And, like, I don't know what I was doing with Dan Campbell when the Lions decided to make him the head coach. He's unlike physically. He is unlike any coach we've ever seen in the NFL. But he does a great job of making those players feel like he's in the game with those players.
I was telling you off air, and I mean this entirely, he looks like a guy you could put him in a uniform, put him in the game for a couple of series at linebacker.
Get you a sack.
And he wouldn't embarrass you. He would look like a player out there. I don't know how old he is. He's probably in his mid-40s.
48.
Yeah.
He looks like, speaking of Mike Tyson, he looks like for a short period he could still fake being a player.
Let's relive Dan Campbell's introductory press conference.
This team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing, all right? That's going to be the mentality, all right? And we're going to learn that any loss that we take, we're going to make sure we feel the full pain of it and not go numb to it.
Thank you for playing that, because it was after that where I thought there's no way this guy is going to have any sort of success.
Yeah, and the bite you in the kneecap thing.
Yes.
That comes back to haunt you if you prove not to be a good coach. It's like, yeah, how's that biting the kneecap of the opponent working?
Yep.
You know, when you're 3-7.
Yep, but now he looks like a genius.
He does. Yeah. I mean, a macho man, macho coach.
Yes.
Can I tell you something? I was really happy for him when they came back and they beat the Texans this week, and this is why. And I felt like I saw like an evolution of Dan Campbell in that They came back, and their last 2 drives ended with field goals. And I was like, wow. And he looked happy. Like,
he's learning.
Look,
yes.
we kicked these field goals. We ended up winning this game. The whole story was about Jake Bates, the old the bricklayer that now is a kicker in the NFL. But I saw Dan Campbell, and I'm like, you know what? I feel really good for this guy. Like, all the criticism that he would go for being too aggressive, whatever, he settled for 2 field goals, ends up having a giant comeback win because it was looking early on like the Texans were going to blow them out and somewhat expose them. But no, they came right back in it. Did the regular football thing, kicked some field goals, took the points. You escape with a win, 8-1.
He's so right, Billy is. I was thinking that Campbell was just going to be like, no, we're scoring. On this final drive, he played the clock.
Yes.
He just took the field goal.
Right.
I thought he would be like, no, we don't do that around here. We try to score touchdowns.
Wrong coach. That's Nick Sirianni.
The bricklayer also 2 really close kicks to missing. Great story, almost horrible. Greg, I have a question for you.
Sure.
As from one father to another. I'm wondering how proud you are of your boys, and if there's a moment that you see like in growth or just like in life that you're like, look at my boy, he's grown.
Okay, well, they've been growing a while.
You don't have to laugh when you think about it.
No, but like if there's like a standout moment, you're like, look at my boy, he's grown now.
Oh, man. I don't think there's one moment. I mean, I have that feeling every week when I'm able to work with Christopher, whether it's on this show or on my own podcast, The Greg Cody Show, dropping every Monday morning.
Attaboy.
So I'm proud of both my kids, for different reasons in a way, but
You okay?
Gets emotional.
He's getting choked up. Billy, why do you ask?
Well, I asked because like I heard something around I heard something around the office, and I said, you know what? That's a grown boy. That's a man now. And I heard it was Chris walking around saying that he's into caviar now.
Oh, my God. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
When he told me that, I literally laughed out loud because it just sounded like such a weird thing for him to say.
I wish I could say that it's because of this highfalutin reason and I just want to be better than people. Because when you eat caviar, you do feel better than people. It is true.
Yeah, but you and caviar don't mix.
Yeah.
I mean, you should not be eating caviar.
It's my.
I don't care if you like it. Don't eat it.
He's not a caviar guy?
No, he's not. He's
Chris. It's my social media algorithm that got me there. Because I get a lot of food stuff, so I'm always swiping, watching videos. And this one lady was eating an everything bagel with cream cheese.
Right.
And she took a little caviar and just put it on top of it. And it looks so good to me.
Really?
That I was like, next time, like I was at Publix a few days later, and that's where everyone goes for their caviar.
Sure, of course. Yes.
So I was just like, hey, you got any caviar? And he's like, I think he like looked it up in his thing. He didn't know. And he like, I think on aisle 8, there was like one little jar of caviar.
It's the first time anyone has ever asked that question at Publix.
So I get this one little jar of caviar. It was $9. And I brought it home, and I put it on a bagel with cream cheese, just like the lady on social media.
Right.
Look.
Are you telling me it enhanced the bagel?
It's like a salty punch in the face. If you like salt, because
right.
I think it's fish eggs. So people think of it as it's going to taste super fishy.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just salt.
Why didn't you just put salt on your bagel?
If in hindsight, I didn't know what it really tasted like. I was more like just curious what it tasted like. Like I put way too much on the first bite. Like holy crap, it's like super salty. You
Got
just
carried
need,
away. Yeah.
Like one little bite of cream cheese and bagel, you just need like a little dollop of caviar. But it's a nice Dad. I'm telling you, as my dad was kind of anti it, this man loves himself some salt.
I do.
I know his palate.
Right.
He would like caviar.
I will say this because in my long life, I've tried most foods, including caviar. I don't mind the taste of caviar. I don't like the mouthfeel. I don't like the lumpiness, the consistency.
I don't like the name of the food, caviar.
I'm like that with cheesecake.
Fancy schmancy, you know?
I don't like the texture of cheesecake, but I love a key lime pie, which is basically the same texture as cheesecake.
Yeah.
And I can't figure out why.
No, Greg, if I can offer you a way to eat caviar where you don't have to worry about that mouthfeel.
Hey, caveat.
Okay.
Hey.
Caviar.
I like it.
Dan Lee is all of a sudden he's a wordsmith. If you take a plain or salted Ruffles potato chip, okay, a little bit of creme fraiche on there, not sour cream, not
like
cream
creme fraiche.
cheese, which I'm not against cream cheese. I'm just saying creme fraiche is more of a sort of a neutral flavor, and then put the caviar on top of that. Holy Jesus, what a delicious, salty, crunchy, soft bite. It is amazing.
Where do you buy your caviar? Publix?
No, there's a caviar place. Like you just honestly,
There's
like
a
if you
place
go to,
for caviar.
caviar place?
That's
little
why I don't
warehouse
like it.
areas.
Is
Yeah,
it
they
called
make
obnoxious?
The Caviar Hut.
It's too good for Publix?
I mean, I bought mine from Publix because I just got curious in Publix, and they happen to have one jar. But I do want to expound because I'm sure I didn't get the great quality.
I would say you ruined something that is already perfect. A bagel.
I'm telling you, though, don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on caviar. Nice little salty punch in the face.
All right. I'm going to sleep on it.